guys have to leave right now. And we left.
We did.
But we're back.
It was like a monsoon.
It was actually crazy, the weather that poured through here. The amount of rain, the wind. And was standing out there saying, I'm not going.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not leaving.
He had to fight his way out of here.
I'm staying on the air. I had to drag this guy to his car and said, unfortunately.
Did you see how happy he was? Did you see how
I don't
happy
think
he
using
was?
the term happy is appropriate, guys.
Happy's a stretch, but I stepped outside the door, and you were already on the 407.
Dude, I swear to God, before that guy said you have to get out of here, I might have been 1 kilometer north of Brampton.
Yeah.
You were, like, you had the hand out already. He was so happy that, like, okay, show's done.
Come on. We put a lot into this, and I was brokenhearted that we had to get out of here.
I think you handed him 100 on the way out, too. You just stuck it right in his chest pocket.
I should have told him, you see one gray cloud tomorrow, you get us the hell out of here.
You swing by here this time tomorrow. There's another brown belt waiting for you.
Yeah, that was.
Anyway, it's good to be back, and everyone's accounted for. And day one of the RBC Canadian Open, we got the logo coming up in a moment. Nick Taylor, the logo himself, and he shot the lights out this morning.
Close. He was close to shooting the lights out. Let's not get carried away with that. There was a bunch of 65s today.
Right,
Man,
not a 64.
Man.
We did not see a 64, but there's the odds courtesy of the RBC Canadian Open and FanDuel. Shane Lowry, who's still on the course, he's plus 450. He's lighting it up. Bob McIntyre's back and playing well. Taylor Pendrith was 500. My boy, Pro-Am yesterday. I know you're trying to claim him, but I play in the Pro-Am with someone, and basically they compete for this tournament.
Any holes in ones yet?
Nothing yet here at 14.
And it is a front pin. You can juice it back. I thought there would have been at least a deuce today.
There were a couple of darts thrown at it, and yet it's so close to the front of the green, they're not putting spin on it because they're worried it's going to blow right off the green. So, you almost have to dunk it, but it's close. And there's a lot of energy out here. Like, because it is a shorter hole, as we've been talking about, every shot, the crowd is kind of holding their breath and thinking it's possible that could go in. So it's going to happen, maybe while we're on the air.
And by the way, if Pendrith wins, you want to talk about an asterisk? I will float out that text you sent me because I picked him for one of my guys, and you said, no, I played with him. We're friends. I get to pick Pendrith like a grade 8 student.
You guys were fighting on the text. I was viewing it.
Okay. So yesterday, because O called in security for us to leave at 5:20, we had a lot of things that we wanted to get to, including Jerry's, which I think are still relevant, and we'll get to them. A lot of them about the Cup final and what we saw last night. But also the OverDrive PGA Picks brought to you by TaylorMade. When you need more performance, distance, and speed from your golf ball, it's time to switch. Learn more about the all-new TP5, TP5X at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. We had to go with the group chat, and instead of snaking, this guy just sends a 5-pack with Pendrith at the top.
But I'm always respectful. You see that, how I just laid, like I gave you some gifts. I took Rory because he's my guy, just like you always get Scotty.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm just going to take a couple Canadians. I'm going to be very respectful, as I always am towards you, and left you a bunch of options, and that's exactly what I did.
And I took advantage of them, one of them being my guy, Taylor Pendrith. Another guy, Nick Taylor, my boy. I took him, right? I also took Sammy Burns, who's out there shooting the lights out. I got Shane Lowry. So every time we come to the RBC Canadian Open, if I've played in the Pro-Am with somebody, he's on my team. That's the way it works.
And it's fair, and usually they play pretty well. It wasn't your boy Tommy Fleetwood.
Tommy Fleetwood was in the hunt. There's been a lot of guys, and Nick Taylor's my first guy when it comes to the Pro-Am.
He loves him. Yeah, exactly.
And
he's your guy.
I happened to play with Taylor Pendrith yesterday, and he shot 500. Yeah. So here he is, the logo himself. He was on fire out here at TBC Toronto. Here's our main man, Nick Taylor. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing great, guys. How are we doing?
We're doing well. Are you comfortable with that name, the logo? Have you come around on that or what?
I've heard it. I don't know if comfort's the right one, but it's, if it sticks, I guess I can't say anything about it in a bad way, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see that silhouette all around the course. It's been fun.
It should be, man. You hit a 72-footer to win the Canadian Open. The least they can do is have that picture humming around this place. Go ahead, O.
Nick, how was it out there today? Just talk about the course, the conditions, and basically your thoughts on it. How'd it go?
The challenge today, it was a bit of rain on and off, but the greens were quite receptive and soft. So when you had wedges in, they're backing up 15, 20 feet. And so some of the back pins, it made it quite tricky because you don't really want to try to flirt with, landing it in the back fringe and spinning it back. So either you're taking a little something off, an extra club, or trying to control the spin somehow. So that was probably the most difficult part of the approach game. And then, with a bit of the rain, the rough was thick if you got into that. So overall, obviously the scores are pretty good. It looks like since the rain went away, there's some lower ones this afternoon, but there's probably 4 or 5, pretty good par fours that you're happy to walk away with par, and then there's, other holes you're trying to attack. So there's a good mix, but definitely some birdies out there.
With Nick Taylor, he was 4 under on his opening round today, RBC Canadian Open. We're out here at TPC Toronto, and this is a new course for the Open, and it's a new course for the PGA Tour. How much of a change is that for pro players? Where a lot of times you guys are going to courses that you're familiar with. How does it adjust or possibly force you to adjust your preparation and maybe the way you kind of ease into a tournament when you're playing a new course?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's definitely a little more prep work when you come to a new spot. I hadn't stepped on the ground until Monday, so I went out Monday morning, got to see the front nine, and did as much homework as I could. Wednesday was the second, nine that I saw, and Dave, my caddy, is obviously takes a lot of that responsibility of studying the course. He'd been out here actually a couple times before this week, but just trying to get a feel of the greens. What are the best places to miss the greens if you're coming in there? Best places to putt from. And then the biggest thing coming to a new golf course is usually just sight lines off the tee. What's the best aiming point? It changed a bit today because the ball wasn't running as much in the fairways compared to the practice days. But as hopefully the rain stays away the next few days, but as that comes, it's going to be, more important to have a good kind of center line on some of those blind tee shots to make sure you don't kind of run through into the rough. That's kind of what you're trying to learn when you come to a new spot.
Are you embracing the Canadian fans, all of that type of stuff? You feel a little extra juice from them?
Yeah, it was great. I felt like as the day went on, when the rain kind of subsided, more people were showing up. It probably helped that Roy was behind us too, so they could watch a couple of back-to-back groups. But I felt like by that back nine, we had a good following, and that's when we kind of all started making some birdies and feeding off each other. So the vibe was a lot of fun today, and I'm hoping tomorrow, obviously, with a little better weather in the afternoon, could be buzzing with us making a few birdies. It'll be fun.
With Nick Taylor, again, he was 4 under today, and you were out there with Mackenzie Hughes and Taylor Pendrith, and Pendrith was 5 under. And you mentioned that, like, kind of the rallying. It's obviously an individual sport, but you're all close. We had Mac on FaceTime. You were driving him around wherever you guys were a couple of days ago. You're with each other all the time. Pendrith's a great guy. Again, we were meeting with him and talking with him yesterday. Does it feel different when you're with all the Canadians, when you're in a group of 3 and it's Canadians and you know each other and you know that the crowd is supporting you, even though you're out there golfing your own ball, you're putting down your own score? Is there something about the energy that feels different when you're playing with 2 other Canadians?
Yeah, I think it's just a little more relaxed. It's a lot of fun. We play practice rounds together constantly, so the comfort level couldn't be any higher. All 3 players, all 3 caddies are Canadian, so we just have that vibe, and we've known each other for a long time, so it's comfortable. It doesn't really necessarily mean that you're going to play well, but I think it certainly helps. And then today, when we kind of got on a run, all of us were kind of feeding off each other, so it was fun. But again, we do it so often, it was just very comfortable.
So Nick, what's the approach after round 1? I mean, you guys were all solid today. Are you just like, you're not thinking of a number tomorrow? Are you just like full pedal on the gas and let's just see what happens and get as low as we can, and we're going to be in a good spot on the weekend? Like, when you have a solid round, what's the approach to the next one?
Yeah, it's to, like you said, keep the pedal down. I think, like I said, I think the scores look like they're going to be pretty low this afternoon with it warming up a little bit and no rain. So, you got to assume that tomorrow morning, if that continues, we're going to have to put a good round together to stay near in the lead. So, yeah, I think pedal down, keep chasing those birdies, with obviously the right strategy. But, if you try to sit back on your heels after a good start, usually not very good things happen. So keep chasing and, get ready for Saturday.
Does it help to go early, late from that standpoint, that you guys will be going out in the afternoon tomorrow and you'll have an idea of what that number might be and kind of where you stand going into the weekend? Does that affect your mentality at all when you tee off?
A little bit, I think. My guess is the leader after tomorrow morning is probably going to be at least 10 under. So you kind of always have a number in your mind just after maybe playing one round. We'll get a good idea, but once you see it, you kind of put it in the back and forget about it and just try to play golf. There's no need trying to go through the holes, trying to figure out where you're going to make your birdies. Just let things happen. This is a course definitely that there's birdies out there, but you got to be patient with some of the longer holes. So it'll be good to know what's going on, but also forget about it and just go play golf.
He is Nick Taylor, 400 today, opening round. He's out there with Taylor Pendrith, Mac Hughes tomorrow in the afternoon. He is the logo, and we love having you on as always, man, especially considering the tournament started and we know you're busy. So thanks for doing this, and good luck tomorrow and into the weekend.
Thanks, guys. Enjoyed it.
You got it. There he is, Nick Taylor. Again, 4 under, Pendrith 5 under. You got Shane Lowry out there. He's still 5 under. He's on the course. Olesen, Willett, Champ, they're 6 under. They're still out. So we'll track that throughout the afternoon. Bob Weeks coming up a little bit later on. Haven't seen any Oiler jerseys yet today, but what a game, man. What a game to start the Stanley Cup playoffs last night.
That was something else. And, both teams kind of had their game going. Like Florida was aggressive, Edmonton.
No rust at all.
No, like they were moving and aggressive. The hits, I think, 51-51, so kind of give and take. But Draisaitl, brings the building
right off the bat,
right to life a minute in.
Yep.
I don't know, like I would have the goalie challenge. I would have challenged it.
Guys, I'm sorry. That was so bonkers. How they let that goal count.
You're talking Sam Bennett accidentally falling.
Well, I mean, the game had so many storylines within it. Florida's up 3-1. The other one was the crazy part. Florida's never lost the game after leading with 2 in the Maurice era. 31 games in a row.
Yeah, it was, I think, 30 in a row where
30.
they're up after the second period. When they have a lead through 2 periods, they were literally undefeated. And yet you look at the way the Oilers played. I thought by the third period it was all Edmonton all the time.
Yeah.
And I agree that they both had their game early, and Florida was on the forecheck, and they were aggressive, and they got on the board, and they countered even though Draisaitl scored so early in the game. Through 40, I'm like, okay, the champs are here, and they're going to make a statement, and they're ready. Yeah. And then I thought Edmonton in the third, and certainly into overtime, they had 4 or 5 chances to win in overtime.
Dominant.
Like Kapanen, Bouchard breakaway, that was a brilliant.
Do you guys want to get on board with my prediction? Remember, I told you guys I think the Oil might spank them. Are you getting on board with it?
I'm not, because I think
you're thinking about it.
I'm coming around to it. I don't know. I saw something late in that game, and I saw that 97 and 29 in particular just say, we're not doing
this
again.
How about 97's look on his face after the game, high-fiving guys?
Yelling and screaming at people.
Yeah.
Like, he is so intense. He sets up Ekholm.
Yeah. He's the best,
he sets up Draisaitl, and it was almost like it was destiny for those two.
I told you, man. It's like Zach Hyman out of the lineup. It's like Corey Perry go on the power play in overtime, make that great little behind-the-back play.
It was a great play.
That's an unbelievable play.
But you know what? Like, regardless of what you think of the refs got out of the way for the most part. You had to make the call.
Puck over glass.
It's puck over glass.
Yeah.
Like, you have
it's
to
a black
make
and
that
white call.
And I thought in that overtime, Edmonton got stronger and stronger. Like, Florida looked tired, and they were hanging on. Like, that's really what it was. Bobrovsky, I thought, was unbelievable.
I thought he was really good.
The high danger chances were 24-15. Now, Skinner played well, too. He made some really good saves. The second goal for Bennett, I didn't love. I know it's a partial breakaway. I thought Skinner was a bit deep. But outside of that, I'm nitpicking now. But I thought they had good goaltending. There was intensity. There was hits. There was a little bit of everything. And, what an entertaining game.
You can't ask for anything better than that.
I had friends in the building, and they were texting me saying, like, the roof was going to come off. Like, they said it was so loud.
Well, and it was so close to a second overtime as well.
I know.
Which that I think is so beneficial if you're a fan, because, yes, you're excited and it's amazing, but you're also like, do we need to go back into an intermission here? And you know, if you're on the power play, once it gets there, it's like it's done. You know what I mean? Like if you miss out on that opportunity, you start the second overtime. But I just felt like that. We said it yesterday before we got rained out here. I felt like that was a borderline must-win for the Oilers last night because of the history in this Stanley Cup final, because of what happened last year. And you look at it like Bennett scores twice, Marchand scores. It's like these are the guys who are showing up for Florida. It's 3-1. Bob's making stops. And I was
I
not
had that feeling
good
last night after the Panthers responded right away and took the lead. I was like, maybe these guys are just the Oilers' kryptonite. So I totally agree with you. For them to come back and get that W last night, it was massive for their confidence.
I think it was huge,
and
man.
I agree 100% that, not that it was a must-win, but it was almost you needed to win if you were the Oilers.
It's figurative, but it's very significant.
Florida, not so much. Like, I think Florida, regardless, if they lose 2, I still think that they go, okay, like they did it against Toronto. Like they find ways. Like they adapt as they go along. They're a confident group. They've won. You know, but they also might say, geez, this team is different this year. They might, having a beer after the game.
That's what sticks out. I mean, listen, if the Cup champs deserve the benefit of the doubt. It's one game. It is one game. They are winners. They have proven that they're winners, and they're going to show up and they're going to get after it. But Edmonton is I think they feel like they're a better team. They're better at home. That's another big part.
Healthy, Draisaitl healthy.
I thought Kane was unreal last night.
9 hits.
I thought he was
had that hit on
night.
Ekblad early on.
He buried him, and the place went nuts, and he got in there on Mikkola. Like, Mikkola is trying to play tough until Kane got in his face, and then all of a sudden, no thank you. And you notice all of them, like, there's something. He's got a moxie to him where none of them scare him. They're scared of him. Like, there's something about Kane where he's standing in there, and they'll get after him, and they'll push. But it's just like Ekblad was trying to yell at him, and it's like, don't even start. Like, I know you're going to stand up for yourself, and you got it. Don't pretend like you're taking him on, because Kane will, if you do want to take him on, he'll be happy to do that, and he's going to win it.
Here's the one thing. Florida was trying to take a piece of Draisaitl.
As they should, and they have to.
But he fought through it, and the one where Mikkola was getting into it, Kane comes in, pops him in the face. That was it. Like, but it is. Like, Florida's mantra is, and you heard Paul Maurice, remember, that mic'd up moment where he's like, stop making plays. By the time Game 7 comes around, they won't have anything left. They are, that's how they play. Take a little piece of something every shift, and by the time Game 7 came around, Edmonton didn't have much of that. The Leafs didn't have much. Like, they try to take a piece of you. But Edmonton showed something last night. Resolve. Like, they're down 3-1, and it didn't look good because Florida was really pouring on in the second period. I'm
they were.
Man, like, Edmonton looks disjointed. They look a little bit.
Skinner made some big stops at 3-1 and 3-2.
Yes.
Like, big saves.
Yeah.
And I was impressed with his post game where, I remember early in the playoffs he was smiling when he was getting booed and jeered, and he had given up a bunch. And I'm like, what's that? I don't know if I love that. And afterwards, he's there smiling, and he spoke about experience. And he actually gave that example where guys, they say it in the summer, they say it after their careers. He said it right after the game, where he felt like, okay, I've been here and I know it.
Yeah,
like,
he
I'm
said
in the
when
moment.
he skated out in the ice last year and saw the Stanley Cup there, he had googly eyes, and it was like, oh, my God, what the hell? We're playing for that? And this year it was like,
I've seen it.
I think he needed to say that to hear it back to himself, and I think a lot of his teammates might have enjoyed hearing that from him as well.
I think that's a big part of it, too, is that, okay, they get to 3, Florida gets to 3. It didn't get to 4 or 5 or 6. He stopped it. He allowed his team to get back in it. The big boys showed up and played, and they end up winning Game 1. I think it's massive for Edmonton.
You could argue both of these teams coming in were averaging 4 goals, 4. So it's a race to 4. Mm-hmm. And if the goalie can allow 3 or less, that's pretty much your win. That's exactly what he did last night. Like, it's a race to 4. Edmonton gets that 4. And Skinner was good.
Yeah, I have a bit of a crazy statement after watching last night and watching throughout the playoffs.
What do you got?
And before the playoffs, you would have punched me as hard as you could. I think the pecking order on D in the National Hockey League is 1, Cale Makar, and 2, Bouchard.
More so, over Quinn Hughes. You'd take Evan Bouchard, like,
the way he's playing right now, maybe it's recency bias because all those other guys aren't playing. But I think he's that good, man.
I think
he is unbelievable.
He's been phenomenal, but I'm obviously taking Quinn Hughes over Evan Bouchard, and I think you would too.
Okay, but let me just tell you this. If there was a little hut, an elite defenseman hut, and Quinn Hughes was in it and Cale Makar, and they opened up the door and said, Evan, come on in here.
You think he's number 3?
I think he said there. I could put him in the hut.
Okay.
But I don't think he...
They would open the door and say, you're a member now. Come and have a coffee.
Here's
Do you think?
I think
he's a really good player. He's playing well, man.
Okay, depending on how big the hut is.
Well, who else is in the hut? It's Cale Makar. It's Quinn Hughes.
Well, I mean, Werenski was phenomenal this year.
Werenski.
I don't know if Hedman and Yossi still have it.
Yeah,
you know, like those are guys.
Morrissey, like there's some good. Like I will say this.
I'll tell you, if it's a 3-man hut and you only can shove 3 defensemen in there, I think Bouchard's the third one.
Well, Bouchard, playoff Bouchard. That's the thing. November Bouchard, like you didn't have that comment.
I don't even care what he does in November.
You didn't have that comment when he came around the net in Toronto when they were winning. They were up.
He rifled it off McDavid's ass and onto somebody's tape.
It went on to left shot. I think it was Tavares that shot it in the net. But it was Bouchard coming around. Edmonton was in pretty good shape in that game. I think it was 3-1. They were up or something. Bouchard comes around the net and rips it off McDavid's ass. And I think after that, Toronto caught up and Marner won it in overtime.
Yep.
But it was, I think, playoff Bouchard. That's different.
And
because
listen, that's the most important one, the most valuable one.
What we're seeing is a guy who can play in all scenarios and doesn't get overwhelmed. Now, there was he had a couple blunders last night. One up the wall where he's
going to give them to you.
Yeah.
And he dangled Gustav Forsling in overtime.
And got in alone.
What an unbelievable play.
Like, that was, like Forsling, I think, looked at him and said, this is Bouchard, stick check. I think you know how sometimes if you catch a forward playing defense, you're like, okay, I'm going to really try something here because I don't think he can defend me. I wouldn't be shocked if Forsling looked at Bouchard and took him for granted, but Bouchard, that was a full-blown Mario Lemieux, through the stick.
I've fallen in love with the guy, man.
I'm not arguing against it. I'm not saying he's not a great player and that he's not playing very well. I think it's crazy to say he's ahead of Quinn Hughes.
No, I put him in the hut.
Ultra elite defenseman fishing hut on a fishing trip, and only 3 guys are going to go.
I'd say
Evan Bouchard is in the hut.
I want the hut to be
Let me come up with a list of names.
Deep. I want the hut to be 5 deep so I can find a spot.
I'm going to come up with a list of defensemen, and you tell me where to stop. Okay, I'm going to name names, and then you tell me to stop when you hear a guy. And we'll do this later. Maybe we get Struddy in here, and at one point Struddy would have been in the hut.
Actually,
right? Struddy would have been
in Switzerland at the Spangler. He was.
Dude, he was the only guy in the hut. They built the hut just for him at the Spangler. So we'll catch up with Struddy. And you guys can tell me when to stop when you hear a player that is not as good as Evan Bouchard. Okay?
Done.
All right, we'll do that.
I know you love him just as much.
I'm a huge fan. I am a huge fan of the way he's playing.
It's just, you know what?
I'm just trying to relax here a little bit.
But you know him. He just is like, put him in the hut. And then you know what? Tomorrow, if he has an egregious, pull him out of the hut.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's always easy to come back out of that hut, too.
Yeah, you can pull a guy out of the hut.
On OverDrive, we pulled a lot of guys out of huts.
We have built them and torn them down and put them in and taken them out. All right, so Struddy's coming up on what we saw last night, Game 1 of the Cup Final. We will revisit Jerry's percentages that we were going to get to yesterday. We'll do that today. Bob Weeks is here. He'll join us around the table. The RBC Canadian Open, Day 1. We're tracking it out here at TPC Toronto Osprey Valley. OverDrive continues. Look at this shot of Bob. That's not a funeral pick.
That's a great pick.
One.
Golfing, all kinds of great stuff.
That's like a bachelor party pick for Bob. That's go time pick. We love it. Bob Weeks around the table next.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. We're live at the RBC Canadian Open, and there are starting to be some red numbers piling up here. Cameron Champ's on the course. He's 7 under. Olesen is 7 under. Danny Willett. Shane Lowry, who's just rolling through the rink hole right now. We had a bunch of Canadians come through, right? Connors is coming through. Hadwin's coming through. Bob Weeks is coming through. There he is. Weeksy, you're on the marquee with those guys.
Yep. I don't know about that, but it's the 1 week a year where you feel big.
Absolutely.
That's about it.
I heard through the grapevine someone saying that you must have signed 30+ hats and golf balls for kids and fans yesterday. Confirm or deny?
I just signed James Duthie on them all.
We don't talk about him on the show. Bobby, I saw you talking with McElroy, and he got the jersey from Keith Pelly, and he looked somewhat happy. But man, he had kind of a tired look to him today. Like it just, I don't know. I don't know if he's just bombing all over the planet or what he's doing, flying around. But he had a tired kind of fatigue look to him.
I don't know if he went out last night or something or what he did, but he did look tired. He didn't really look like he was focused in there.
He had no zip.
And there was a little bit on the back nine. I thought he got a little better. Don't forget, he played that front nine blind. He hadn't seen it yet. And, your caddy can tell you the lines and stuff, but if you don't know what you're aiming at, really, how much do you trust it, right?
Bobby, I'm sorry. I think that's crazy, man.
No,
like,
I'm not.
I don't care how good you are. What do you really expect when you wheel up to a golf? You've never seen it. You're in a tour event?
Yeah. That's a little bit of bad planning, but he's getting paid for doing a whole bunch of stuff this week, right? So he's at the RBC event on Tuesday at our course. He flew up here on Monday. I think Monday actually he was playing a practice round at Oakmont. He was telling me about that the other day. How deep the rough was. That's going to be scary next week.
By the way, nothing flies around more than club selection stories from your own golf course. Me and Bobby are members at the same place, and Rory went and played our golf courses. What he hit in certain places, like number 2 is a drivable par 4, that I get on the green only if I absolutely hit my Sunday best, mash it, got to be a draw, and it might find. He hit a 5-wood, and it's from a back tee, and it's like the club selection stories are legendary, man.
I can picture that. Did he hit the green with a 5-wood from there?
He did, and pitching wedge on 3, by the way, is what I heard. Pitching wedge on 3, which is an uphill par 5.
So he hit driver, pitching wedge.
Yeah.
Is it weird for guys to not scout the course or go in blind, or is this maybe an outlier for him?
Well, listen, if it's the U.S. Open, he's not doing it,
right?
But this is an event that he likes. It's not a make or break event for him, and he's going to go in here. He's obviously here, but as a guest of RBC, and so they have an event for their clients on Tuesday. That's how they get around paying appearance fees. He's not the only one. There's probably I think 20 of them or so. So he goes out and plays with them, and I mean some of the guys came here afterwards late at night, but it was. I think it was raining at Monday night. I don't know. Anyway, I've lost track of what day it is. So it is a little unusual, but not. It's not an exception by any means. I don't think there's a bunch of guys who played that back nine today without having seen it.
Well, and again, McElroy was 1 over. At one point, he had 3 birdies in a row, was 1 under, missed a couple of close birdie putts to get to 2, 3 under, and at that point, I'm thinking, all right, he's going to get it together and take off. You know, now with these scores going low, we might have a cut line of 3, 4 under tomorrow. Like, this is the question for him. Does he get up and feel like playing and go out there and torch this place, which he can, or where's his mind at? Because he's admitted, I don't love going to the range as much as I did before I won the Masters. He's got a lot going on. You get the U.S. Open next week. And as you know, Bob, it's a massive draw when he's into the weekend. Like, it's huge when McIlroy's around on Saturday and Sunday.
Like, even with respect to Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy is the #1 guy in golf. He's the biggest attraction in the game. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
Like above Scheffler.
Above Scheffler. Scheffler's a great guy. He's a great golfer, but his personality is not what Rory's is. It could change. It could change. But he's a quiet guy, right? And he's a nice guy, but he doesn't go out there and fist pump. It's all you can do to get him to take his hat off and wave it or something. I guess he threw it on the ground when he won the PGA. That's about the most emotion we've ever seen. Rory's just a big icon, and everywhere you go, it's the same thing.
Yeah, and he plays to the crowd. Like, they love him here. They love him everywhere he goes.
Hayes, you were talking earlier before we came on. You think there's an element of him that might just be out of gas trying to chase down that Augusta green jacket, and it just might be like...
Yeah, I really do think that there's a fork in the road, and there's a chance we're seeing that he's not chosen which road he's going to go down, but maybe subconsciously his foot's just not going to be on the pedal as much. And it doesn't mean it won't get back there, But I think his best friend, Shane Lowry, kind of outed him. We talked about that the Monday after Augusta. Lowry said on the record right afterwards, this is all he ever talks about, all he ever thinks about, all he ever wants is the Masters. That's it. We saw his reaction. The guy's cradled up crying on the 18th green. Once you've accomplished once you got there,
top of the mountain,
you have to reset on what else you want to do. Like he's done it all now, McIlroy, right? And that's not to say he's not ever going to want to win or he doesn't want to win. And it might be different once he gets to Portrush. That's right around the corner from where he grew up. Didn't make the cut there last time. I think he'll be reinvigorated, but I think subconsciously you just take your foot off the gas.
I think if today had gone, if he'd started out of the gates with a hot streak, I think it would have been different. I think now you're right. Now there's not as much incentive because is he going to make up 11 shots in 3 rounds or whatever the lead's going to be. I think you're right. And I asked him the question you were just saying, and he asked in the press conference. He was asked, basically all the time now.
Guys like him, though, Bobby, he can do that. I don't think he had a great first round at Hamilton last year. He storms back, and all of a sudden he's near the lead on Saturday.
But I think the point that Brian was making is, does the guy have enough juice like he used to have? And I don't know if he does right now, but I think he will. I think these guys are just have it in them. It's like Tiger, the same kind of deal, right? I just want to win. I want to win more. Now he wants to win the second Grand Slam.
Yeah. You think Taylor Pendrith kind of got the juice to take that next step? It seems like week after week, you see his name popping up there. It's awesome to see.
He's the most laid-back guy you'll ever meet. He is so chill. And yet he goes out there. I've known him since he was in university, and he's the same guy he was down there. He's got, his coach told me down there at university, this is whatever it was, 8 years ago, that he said, this guy is going to be the superstar. He said, everyone's looking at all my other guys here, but this guy is going to be the superstar. I think he just needs his putter to get a little warm. He won that first event last year. I thought that would kick the door open a little bit, and he struggled really in the last 3 or 4 months, but he could win this tournament very easily. I mean, he knows this course better than anybody. Had that good round this morning, but I think another win to him could really open up the vault.
Yeah, I mean, he was 5 under today. Pendrith 5 under, Nick Taylor 4 under, Mac Hughes 2 under, and they all played together.
They played in a lot of wind. Actually, the best line was Taylor Pendrith's caddy, Match Theoret, 7th round draft pick of the New York Islanders.
Yes.
He's a
shout out.
Yeah.
Alumni, just like
there
that.
you go.
Alumni,
there you go.
yeah.
He actually said this is like our Tuesday game where all the Canadians play together, except that Mac Hughes showed up time. It's a shot at Mac, who's always late. But he said, he said it was very relaxed out there. They were having a lot of fun. They didn't have a big crowd until they sort of got rolling and the people woke up and showed up here with their umbrellas. But he's a very underrated player.
Yeah, he bombs the ball around. They're all looking pretty good. We got Corey Connors out there, Adam Hadwin out there. And there's 3 spots open for the Open Championship as well, right? Because like a lot of guys, the U.S. Open field is set next week, but the Open Championship is not officially set yet. So I guess the top 3 who have not already made it, that's on the line here this week too.
That's it,
right?
Exactly. And I think Mac Hughes got in last year through that, and there's been a couple of Canadians. I remember David Hearn getting in on that the first year they put it in place. So there's still a little bit to play for here. I think there's 4 Canadians playing next week, and I think there's 4 already qualified for the Open Championship. I'd love to get 4, 5, 6, 7 in there. That'd be great.
Big time. And I saw Adam Hadwin last night. He has not punched his ticket yet, and he's going for that. He obviously wants to win.
Yeah.
He's trying to win the tournament, which would clearly get you in. But that also is in the back of his mind. I wouldn't mind getting over there to Portrush.
He's got to clear a few things up. I had a good conversation with him last week at the Memorial, and he says, sometimes I hit a great shot, and I think it's terrible, and sometimes I hit a terrible shot, and I think that was the best swing I've had all day. So he's kind of struggling to find an answer right now.
We're at the rink hole right here. There's Bob McIntyre. He looks like he's got decent gear. What do you make of the gear on Bob McIntyre right now?
Best I've seen in 2 years. Usually it's the white, blue flower shirt and a purple pair of pants.
Yeah, the champ, man. I mean, listen, he could repeat and become Mr. RBC Canadian Open.
Yeah, just what they'd want. I think he's great. I mean, he's actually a fun guy. The best thing I did last year was I asked him in front of everybody at the closing ceremony if he was going to give his dad the 10% tip, for caddying for him. And his dad just sat over there and rubbed his hands together. So I don't know if he ever did or not. But
well, they were at Hamilton earlier this week. He and his dad, they popped back over there. And, it's got to be so special when you win a tournament, whatever course that is, you would just connect with it the rest of your career.
Oh, and with your dad on the bag?
Absolutely.
It's just a miracle.
How many beers did those 2 drink in the Hamilton clubhouse after that win?
1,000.
I can't even imagine.
They told Jack to take a lap, remember? He was scheduled to go to the Memorial, and he told Nicholas, actually, that's not going to happen.
He goes, I'm going to Scotland to get drunk with my friends. friends.
That's a great line for Jack Nicklaus. All right, Bob, so what do we make of the weekend here going forward? I mean, what are your big stories, I guess, for tomorrow? Is it McElroy? Can he get back in? Canadians, can they stay hot? How does the course hold up?
All three, and I think the big one is going to be that third one. It's going to determine the first two. If this thing dries out, there's not supposed to be any more rain. And if we can get some heat, get this thing cooking a little bit more. I don't know if you can get it. It's pretty soggy out there. I don't know if you guys walked around up there, but it is pretty soggy. So you got to get that tightened up a little bit. And if that happens, then, you know, there's a lot of guys out here who's, you know, as an old golf writer by the name of Red Murray once said, there's a lot of guys who've led a tournament after the first or second round. In fact, there's more names in the phone book than there are, you know, guys who've led. And so I don't know if these guys are going to, if these guys who are up there now can hold on for 4 rounds. But I think generally on a course like this, that's long, and the guys are talking about it being long, that the cream's going to rise. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that'll be the case. Looking at the leaderboard, Thorborn, Olesen, Cameron Champ, Danny Willett, Cristobal del Soler. I saw him putting on 4, actually, earlier this afternoon. But then you got Pendrith, you got Lowry, you got McIntyre up there. Burns was 4 under today. Justin Rose is 4 under. Jake Knapp, who bombs the ball, he's out there. He's 4 under. There's some good players kind of hanging around here.
Yeah.
So, all right, Bob, have a great week as always. Good seeing you.
Thanks, guys.
There he is, Bob Weeks, our TSN golf reporter, live from RBC Canadian Open. I'm going to put a list together.
Yeah.
This guy made a proclamation in the previous segment that Evan Bouchard is better than Quinn Hughes.
Dude, I never said that. You're being stupid now. I never said that. I said.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You didn't say those exact words. You said Cale Makar, then Evan Bouchard.
Right now. Right now.
Okay.
Said if there's a hut.
If there's a hut, those two go in the hut first.
It's got to be.
All right, we'll come back and we'll reestablish.
I'll straighten it all out. You're going Duthie mode right now. You're trying to twist it around.
I'm not trying to twist anything around. We are going to figure this out, okay?
I just don't know. I don't know what's wrong with saying a guy's playing awesome and I have the highest, like I give him the highest marks right now.
I'm not taking marks away from him. I have a hut built. You are going to tell me who gets access to that hut first.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. The hut is built for defensemen in the National Hockey League. You ready for this?
I have the keys.
All right. We're going to open the hut. We're going to have some introductions. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Jason Strudwick coming up. Struddy will join us in about 20 minutes after an Oilers win, right? An Oilers win, which we always say the door's open, win, lose, or draw. Struddy can come on. So there's no complaining that we're only calling him because the Oilers lost last night.
Do you guys think that Struddy would be interested, Noodles, you know him better than anyone,
Yeah.
in the alumni ring concept?
No, he wouldn't. Because I think it's asinine. That's my personal view of it. Why would anybody?
If you used to play for the Leafs, why are you laughing at it? If you used to play for the Leafs,
Yeah.
and they won a cup, and you had the option to get an alumni ring, do you get one?
Am I paying for it, or is the team
Yes, you
supplying
have to pay
it?
for it, approximately 25 to 30 grand. It's not the
Why
same
that-
as the
so-
player. No,
so
it's
you
not
get
the
the
same.
same-
Obviously,
So
I'm not doing that. Why would I pay 30 grand for a ring that I
He
didn't
got a free
win?
Raptors one when the Raptors
That's
won.
right. I actually do have a championship ring at home. I'll bring it in
Yeah,
for you.
and you know how stupid that was too.
No.
A bunch of
That
people
I
walking
disagree
around
with.
that.
I thought that was beautiful.
I'm just telling
Now
you.
you're
Right
actually
So
now.
you
coming
wouldn't
around.
pay the 30 grand.
I don't think I would pay 30 grand for a ring where I have to
That you didn't-
explain
yes.
that I didn't win it, and
course
then
you didn't.
someone asked me, well, so they gave it to you, and I go, no, actually I paid for it. How much did you? $30,000. Like I just
Yeah.
feel like I would start to overthink that and be like, this isn't the icebreaker I thought it would be. I don't
just
think
not-
you're paying 30 grand for that. Replica, couple $100, sure, I do that.
Yeah, but why? You're going to walk around with it? And
Yes,
you
I'm a
walk into
proud
the bar and
alumni. I
somebody
don't think
goes,
there's anything wrong with being a proud
No,
alumnus.
There's
that's
nothing
fine.
wrong
But
with-
I don't want the big giant ring. I want something. I'll make my own then.
Why don't you get a Canes one? Canes, they got one in 06. You
Yeah.
could get an alumni Canes
Dude,
cup
I
ring.
told you, I'm top 5 in a lot of the stats. I can't even get a call to go to Eric Stahl's retirement for his jersey. That's where I stand in Carolina.
You must have done something.
That's
on the way out.
disappointing.
I don't
That's
know. Like
and that's amateur hour and that's Bush League. That's why I take shots at places like that. See, now you're coming
Good.
around.
Here's
I
what
might jump on board with you.
Now you're
coming
coming
up.
around where I'm from.
Hold on a second here. Joe from the Bridge says Coco has one from St. Louis. No, he does not.
I wouldn't be surprised if he
I
does.
played longer than
That's
in
what
St.
I'm
Louis
saying.
than that guy
Why don't
did.
you have one?
Because I'm not a lunatic.
Why don't you have a?
What
You
the
should
hell
have
would
a
I
Florida
want?
Does
one.
he
a
have one
St.
of those
Louis one?
bubble gum ones that
I
Hayes has
have
for the
no
Raptors
idea. I
that's
think
made
that's
of plastic?
That's fake news. How long did Coco even play in
He
St.
was
Louis?
there for a couple of years. He was involved in a big deal. Lee Stepniak going the other way, right? Cliff Fletcher flipped him down there.
That was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. He's a
That's
proud alumni.
I played for the St. Louis Blues in the 90s. Why
I'll
would
bet
the hell,
you-
like, why would they be like, hey, you need a ring?
Well, I would guess
I did
Carlo
nothing.
probably paid for it then. That would be my – if he has one.
Co-
Send him a text. Or what do you have for
He
us,
doesn't.
Doogie?
Well, Coco played there for 5 seasons.
Okay,
It's
so
not
I was
Warren's-
there. I was with the
And by the way,
organization
when he
for
was
4.
there, they were really good. Like, that's when they got, like,
No,
Ryan
our
Miller.
team
When-
was good.
No,
Not
they were.
them.
They were. I don't think they were
When
very
Coco
good.
was in St. Louis?
They weren't any good.
Yeah, they were. They had Backus. They had a Hummer team, and they couldn't get by the
Who
LA
was their
Kings.
coach? Hitchcock?
I don't know who their coach was, but they were an unbelievable
No.
team, and
we
they were
had a
primed to
good-
win.
We won the President's Trophy.
Yeah,
I know,
we were
but they
good,
were really
not
good
his
when
team.
Coco was
Okay.
there, too. Anyway,
I don't remember that. Do you think Chris Pronger has one? Pronger probably has an alumni.
No, he would say
Ring.
no.
He would
I'll
say
text
yes.
him right now and say, if the Blues offered you a Stanley Cup ring as an alumni,
don't put it like that. Say, do you have a Blues Stanley Cup
Yeah,
ring?
don't lead the
And you
witness.
know
I'll
what
bet
he'll-
she says yes.
no, I
too.
guarantee
I'll bet
you
he
he
says
goes,
yes.
no.
Great answer.
How about this? I guarantee you he'll go, why would I have that?
No. Well,
do you
don't
want-
lead the witness. Just
I will
text
not.
him.
Okay,
Don't
so hold
just
on a second here.
Text him.
Do you want to
point
get to
blank.
the defenseman?
Yeah, I got the hut. I'm building a hut over here.
Hold on. I want wording of what I say to Chris Pronger.
Go ahead.
Do you have a St. Louis Blues Stanley Cup ring?
Hold on.
No, not a. Well, yeah, I guess so.
Do you have a St. Louis Blues Stanley Cup ring? Question mark.
Send.
Send.
And we want verbatim answers.
Well, you
Yeah.
just yelled
Unless-
send, and that went in there too. Hold on.
Unless he sends,
Okay.
an emoji that's inappropriate.
If he puts a middle finger and go, what are you talking about, dummy?
I'm a
Like,
little bit concerned about
Just
that.
say some goofy guy at the golf tournament asked me to ask you.
Yeah, don't
Don't
blame
sewer us.
We don't want to be sewered with Chris Pronger. All right, Prongs would be in the hut. Prongs would be in an all-time great
Yes,
hut.
I think so.
Okay, you tell me when I name a player that you think should not be in the hut before Evan Bouchard.
Okay.
Okay? Cale Makar,
In the hut.
He goes in first, man. I'm sorry.
Okay, Quinn Hughes.
He's in the hut.
You establish where you stand on this.
I have to admit, Hayes, I got caught up in my emotions, and I forgot about Quinn Hughes. I'm going to allow Quinn Hughes to go in second into the hut.
Okay, so you got McCarr in there before Bouchard. You got Hughes in there before Bouchard. Charlie McAvoy.
No, he's not going in the hut. I thought he was going to be tracking on a. I thought the trajectory for Charlie McAvoy would have him in the hut, possibly 3 or 4. But he does not go into the hut before Evan Bouchard. Not even close.
Keep in mind here, they're different players, but if you look at Bouchard's point per game, this guy had 82 points last year. He's behind Bobby Orr for points per game in defensemen in the playoffs. So, no, McAvoy does not go in the hut ahead of Evan Bouchard, for me.
Okay. All right, that is a bit surprising. I got to be honest. McAvoy, he's bigger, he's tougher, he's a little bit meaner.
But Bouchard produces points.
He absolutely does.
And is a better offense. Like, Bouchard is significantly more talented offensively than McAvoy.
Undoubtedly. Okay, with that in mind, Roman Josi.
No, not right now. 4 years ago, maybe.
See, I think
if you're talking points per game, now playoffs are different, but this guy's put up 90-point seasons.
Not right now. Not right now.
He had an off season, but he leads his team in points every year.
Yes.
So, yes, he's in the hut for me.
I'm putting Josi ahead of Bouchard in the hut.
Dude, you're being dumb now, man. Bouchard is – they're not like it's not Draisaitl and McDavid anymore. It's a big 3.
Do you think Bouchard is in that? I don't think he's reached that level.
Bouchard is a part. They're a big 3 now.
I don't listen. He's playing great. It's not even about him. It's the other two are so far advanced beyond anybody else that I don't think you can include a third guy with those two.
There is one.
Like,
and his name's Evan Bouchard. It's there.
Okay.
We are at that point.
Okay.
I just think Yossi's done it longer. That's really what I've.
Yes, but if we're talking about right now, I get it. Now Yossi's not playing right now.
We just built the hut today. We're talking about today, not what you did 3 years ago, getting 90 points.
So then I'm assuming Gustav Forsling isn't going to be in there before him.
No, he's not.
Forsling's a really good player.
He's
a
hell
winner,
of a
champion.
Player. Yeah.
Okay, what about Victor Hedman?
Not
Victor
right now.
Hedman.
Hedman's in the hut for me.
He's in the hut,
but he's not going in ahead of Bouchard.
So Bouchard is ahead of him.
No, I have Hedman ahead of Bouchard because I think Hedman does the defensive stuff. Like, Hedman is basically Bouchard and Ekholm squashed together.
Yes.
That's what he is for me.
I know you agree with me. Like,
Hedman,
I know how good Hedman is.
6'6",
I know.
230, plays in every possible scenario.
Ekholm.
I know,
He's
but this guy,
Ekholm,
this guy is playing like Cale Makar right now. That's how good
you're right.
been.
He is. You're right. He is.
Like, it's kind of difficult for me to put anyone other than those top 2 guys in the hut before him.
All right, then let me rapid fire a few names. You guys tell me if any of these would be ahead of him. Ahead of Bouchard walking into the elite hut.
Yeah.
Miro Heiskanen.
No.
Zach,
not right now.
Damn close.
Real close.
That Heiskanen's a player, but I have Bouchard as far. What's the separator is the points. That's the problem. He's a point-producing machine.
Zach Werenski.
Not right now.
Werenski
as
just
good
had
as he
an
is, man.
unbelievable
He did.
season.
I know that, but I'm talking about the now.
I get it, but there's
all
2
of these
teams
guys
playing.
are watching them on TV
yeah,
right
like
now.
you can't say Jake Woolman's ahead of these guys because he's playing right now.
Yeah,
I mean, like Werenski, I think is a better skater. I think, he's got less talent around him. You got to consider that. Like Bouchard, you can't take that again. You can't take that away from him necessarily. He's got to play who he plays with. He's playing with McDavid and Draisaitl. Like, that's the power play. And yes, he's got the Bush bomb and all that.
Yeah,
he gets hooked up a lot out there. Where Werenski doesn't have that luxury in Columbus.
You're right. I look at it and I do think that the problem with Bouchard is he's not a complete player. Like, that's when I look at it. Like, I think Yossi's a complete player. I think Hedman's a complete player.
Jamie, let's be real. There might be a night in February where all 3 of us just boot his ass right out of the hut. But right now, he's the owner of the hut.
I want to give him the love, too. I agree, but he's not.
The Bouchard hut.
The Bouchard.
Yes, come on in.
But I will say
it's
those
a big
players,
3 in Edmonton right now.
Okay.
He's playing that well, and he deserves it. But you look at this. Ekholm's played 2 games, and look how impactful
well
he is. Like, it's that D that was impressive again last night. I thought Klingberg struggled though. I thought Klingberg got hemmed in. That pairing,
well, the
Klingberg and Nurse got hemmed in a little bit.
Forecheck is going to affect him
Yes.
in particular. All right, so I guess, Adam Fox, Jacob Slavin, Rasmus Dahlin, Drew Doughty, like none of those guys are going in clearly ahead of
I mean, they're
Bouchard.
all.
Drew
Same
Doughty,
side.
by the way, he
is
is the king
day.
daddy topper, and he
Yeah,
owns
he's
the
a hot
house
guy.
and can go in at any time he wants.
Out
I have
of-
that much respect
Out of
for him.
respect for Doughty, but he's not at that level anymore. Yet he was on Canada coming off a broken ankle before Bouchard was, and he looked pretty
Yeah.
good at the Four Nations face-off. This is going to be a fascinating chat leading up to the Olympics next year if Bouchard is on the team.
Oh, he is on the team.
Oh, I don't think he's a lock. I don't
Yeah.
believe he's a lock at all. They just left him off the Four Nations.
Okay, well, two playoffs in a row when you're the best defenseman in the playoffs. I think you're going to play on Team Canada.
Here's the thing: if he wins, they have to look at him seriously. Like,
Yeah, and listen, Stuart Skinner's conversation's going to come up again,
Agreed.
all that kind of
Agreed.
stuff.
Yeah.
All right, the man, the myth, the Hut himself, Jason Strudwick coming up. Struddy owns the Hut.
Yeah, in
loves
Switzerland.
the Hut in Switzerland.
Oh my God!
Look at the picture
that is
on
a pick.
Struddy.
That is a pick.
TSN2 YouTube Live, the TSN YouTube channel. You got to be streaming us on that to see everything we're doing down here, including glamour shots of Struddy leading into hour 2. OverDrive continues live from the RBC Canadian Open on TSN Radio and on TSN2.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Up on TSN2, YouTube Live, there's a blimp flying over the rink hole that says Hayes is a fraud.
Yeah, it's a real big blimp, too.
Is that AI? What did Doogie do with that?
I don't know. Doogie is giggling over there. Doogie's having the time of his life. But, yeah, that's unfortunate and unnecessary. We have an update on the Alumni Cup ring.
Yeah.
Carlo has one.
Carlo Koliakovo was gifted an Alumni Stanley Cup ring from the 2019 St. Louis Blues.
So is it a different ring than what the players that actually won the Stanley Cup got?
Well, of course, man. Those things are $100,000 a piece. Koliakovo's not walking around with one of those.
He's got a Leafs alumni coat on. What the hell? Like honestly,
I love
like
this
shill.
guy. Oh,
shill for anything.
I love this guy. He is.
Well, we all love Carlo.
No, I know that. I mean that genuinely. But I'm saying he's got the alumni jacket on with a Stanley Cup St. Louis Blues alumni ring
and
on top of it.
Al McInnes in the background on the right.
There's McInnes. He's probably got a pair of Philadelphia Flyers socks on. He's got Buffalo Sabre pants.
Yeah.
He's got everything covered. Coco's the man.
I don't know why. First and foremost, why, what's the cutoff? What's the cutoff? I heard when the Boston Bruins won the Cup, Rumnose there, the singer. He got
Rene
one.
Rancourt.
Yeah, that guy got one too.
Rancourt got a ring?
Yes.
Oh, I'm surprised by that.
Apparently they got it for everybody, but people in
there's levels.
Those people are deemed to work for the team.
Yeah,
right?
so there's levels to it. My understanding is, and I have this from an inside source. When the Raptors won, there's let's say it's a basketball team.
Yeah.
They would make probably 25 to 30 elites.
The main
which
ones.
is players, the handful of coaches, GM, president, owners. Basically that's kind of it. And then there would be the second level, which would be a lot of maybe the staff, maybe trainers, stuff like that, which would still be very valuable. And let's say the top level is $100,000 a piece. Second level is $30,000 a piece. A good amount where everyone's hey, this is really nice. And then there's a third, fourth, fifth, which is what I'm wearing, which was literally gifted to everybody in the building.
Yeah, they were $10.
Yeah, it wasn't. It literally $10.
But there was caterers that got it.
Exactly.
People worked it.
And it's every layer goes down, and then it's different people within the organization.
I think spouses got the necklace and stuff like that.
Which I think is very classy by the organizations to do anything for anybody.
But my question is, where is the line? Did the Raptors call Vince Carter and go, hey, we need you. We're giving you a ring.
That's a good question. I don't know if any of the alumni.
And he would go, why the hell would I want a ring?
Well, Vince would take it. He never won anything anywhere, so Vince would probably take it.
But he didn't win this one either.
I understand that.
That's the point.
Well, we had that conversation about guys that get traded. The guys that get traded at the deadline who played 45 games for that championship team.
Who was it, Pirtle, or who were we talking about? I can't remember.
Well, Valanciunas was the guy. He got dealt. Yeah, Jonas Valanciunas got dealt. And, DeLon Wright was dealt at the deadline. There were a few different guys. C.J. Miles, who we love. We have C.J. on all the time. He got flipped. He got traded, I believe, in the Gasol deal. And they had played. They had been here. Valanciunas went 4th overall, played for the team for a long time, played 40 games that year, gets flipped, and they win. I think he gets level 2.
Wasn't on the team.
Not in a level 1, but a level 2 alumni ring.
If he was here, they might not have won.
Well,
that's the thing.
That is probably valid. I mean, in retrospect, without Marc Gasol, they possibly don't. NBA Finals starting tonight, Game 1 on TSN. And we're here at the RBC Canadian Open. We'll get to Struddy in a moment. Game 1 of the Cup Final was brilliant last night. The Jays are rolling today. Al Kirk with the walk-off off Romano last night. Alejandro Kirk is lights out lately. He is clutch. He has been unbelievable. Big hit last night. They're winning big today. So they won 5 in a row, get spanked Game 1 of that series. Now, if you take 2 out of 3 against the Phillies, all of a sudden you're starting to feel it here a little bit if you're the Blue Jays.
The one thing this guy can't do, he can't assume anything goes over the wall.
He needs to run out of the box.
Because if it goes off the wall, he might get thrown out at first from the center fielder.
Well, he's 4 feet tall.
He slow walked it last night.
He did, and I'm like, if this goes off the wall, he could get thrown out at center field.
Yes, because there were 2 outs. Like he had, because if you replay it, he's watching it thinking that's gone, and then he realizes I better get motoring here, and he gets to first, and Vladdy scores, and they end up winning the ball game last night.
Wasn't it though? They always measure the speed. He was faster than Stanton.
Yeah,
in
Giancarlo Stanton was basically running backwards at times.
Forrest Gump
with
the stilts on. That's what he is.
And he's 6'7".
It was the year before last year. He was dynamite last year.
Yeah, he was dynamite with his bat, but he can't run worth anything.
No. Yeah.
Like he's basically Babe Ruth at the end of his career.
I believe somebody sent me the analytics where like Kirk was faster than Stanton in their actual running to first.
I love how that's the line of demarcation is
crazy.
Giancarlo Stanton and who's running and how they're running. All right, Jason Strudwick will join us here in a moment. Was that so let me ask you guys, like last night, was that the Draisaitl game? Was that the McDavid game? Like, how are we going to remember that?
It was almost a Bennett game. I was concerned because that Bennett was running, knocking people around and scoring.
I think it's the Draisaitl game, man. He got the first one, got the last one. That's the Draisaitl game.
And the other thing, too, is during the finals last year, he got shut out. He didn't score.
Yep.
He was banged up, had the broken hand and ribs or whatever. Mm-hmm. He put 2 on the board last night.
I think that was the Draisaitl game. I think that was the sniffing out the Conn Smythe type of moment for him last night. Now, McDavid factored in on the tying goal in the winner, so he kept pace as well in terms of what he's doing. But
I don't know.
You think 97, if the Oilers win, there's nobody else?
I think it's 97, and I also – because 97's doing things out there that – like I say, those 2 assists were elite.
Yes, they were.
Elite.
But Draisaitl's throwing his body around, taking on hits, man.
I get it. Like, I mean.
Like, he scored 2 goals from the same place last night.
Ultimately, both those guys, they could split up Conn Smythe if there was.
Possibly. All right, here he is. The man, the myth, the legend himself.
Let me ask this guy a question.
Jason Strudwick joining us. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Jason, I have a question for you. If you were going to slot Evan Bouchard as far as top defenseman in the game right now, just the way he's playing right now, where would you have him?
The way he's played the last 2 playoffs, he's showing us he's an elite defense.
Yeah.
I mean, he's right up there, right? And then so, you know, I think what happens is during the regular season, he's at one level, and then he gets to the playoffs and he goes to another level.
Would you be comfortable doing this, Struddy? Would you be comfortable compiling a list with Cale Makar at the top of it, Quinn Hughes second, and Evan Bouchard third?
In the whole league?
Yes.
Wow, that is elite. I definitely have him in my top 5 or 6. He's right up there, and he's different than those guys.
Yeah, he is.
You know, he's not. Makar and Quinn Hughes are so dynamic with their skating, the way they move around, whereas Evan is more cerebral, right? And not that those suggest those guys aren't, but they move their feet so well and skate around. Like, Evan got a breakaway last night. I've never seen him skate that fast. I didn't know he actually could. I've never seen him move that quickly to get open and to make a play like that. Really, really good passer. You know, works the power play as well as anyone, and you know, works with those 2 elite players. So, yeah, I'd say he's right up there with those guys. I mean, and you know, he had a tough start to the year, wasn't included in the 4 Nations team. Now this is 2 playoffs where he's been an elite D-man. For him, you know, you look at the guy he played against just a little while ago, and Harley's a really good D-man. Did he play as well as Bouchard has in this playoffs or for as long? No.
Well, listen, every game you play, you change people's opinions. You continue to build your legacy and build your reputation. And Bouchard, but last year he was phenomenal during the regular season last year, and was great during the playoffs. And you just mentioned Thomas Harley. He was the guy they called when they needed somebody for the 4 Nations faceoff, not Bouchard. Drew Doughty had a broken ankle, and they're like, "We want Doughty. We don't want this Bouchard character." Yeah. Like I said earlier, Struddy, based on that, what Hockey Canada said. Now it's always subject to change. And maybe they'd come out immediately and admit, you know, maybe we got that wrong, and we're not going to make that mistake again once we get to the Olympics in 2026.
I think there was a trust problem there, Brian.
But that's my point. I'm not convinced that he's 100% on the team. I'm not. If he just was left off it 3 months ago. You call me crazy, but it feels like Hockey Canada kind of showed their cards, that for whatever reason they look at Bouchard and say, I don't know if I can trust it, and maybe it's because Makar is Makar, and he's the guy that's going to play there.
Right.
So Bouchard is not going to play the role he's going to play in Edmonton. It's not available to him. And, I mean, you take it from there, Struddy, but do you think he's a lock to make it, or do you think there's potential for them to find the warts in his game, and they won't trust him at the Olympic Games?
So what happens with Evan Bouchard is he does 9 really good things, then the 10th one at times in the regular season is a mistake that you don't want to see from a 12-year-old, right? A massive mistake. But he still does it 9 out of 10 times. He does things right. Other guys function at 7 or 8 times, right? He's doing it 9 out of 10 times. He does the right play and an incredible play. It's just that when he does a mistake in the regular season, they're huge. That was the case in the first couple of games against LA. We haven't seen that yet through it. And so at the most important time of the year, when your team needs you the most, you're facing the most pressure, everyone's running you, he's making the right plays. So, you know, if he had had a good start to this season, or a start that, you know, was without some of those warts in his game, that the whole team was playing like that all year. I'd have a hard time finding a 10-game stretch where the Oilers is playing even close to where they're playing right now. The whole team was down. And I don't think he was in consideration because of that start. Maybe they were wondering about him. But now if you look again, it's 2 playoffs in a row. I mean, I don't know what more the guy has to do. The problem is you got to knock someone off. Well, maybe you don't, because they take extra ones for the Olympics. So maybe he's the extra guy that works his way in to the conversation of being the actual player rather than maybe a guy who watches more, some of the other guys.
Yeah, it makes sense, Struddy. What do you make of the game last night? I mean, it was kind of a roller coaster, great start, and Florida pushes back, and in the end, it's McDavid and Draisaitl to get it done. But you know, your overall thoughts of Game 1, because I think it was quite an entertaining game on all levels.
Unreal hockey game. I thought that was a great game. Oilers came out well. Florida kind of found their groove in the second period and really took it to the Oilers. And then the Oilers got a late game from Arvidsson. They signed this guy, has had a bit of a challenging year as far as finding his groove, and has a massive goal for the Oilers. Absolutely massive. They get him back to 3-2. And then you get into the third period, and they just find a way, right? They find a way to tie it up with Ekholm, a nice pass that I think was meant for Kane. But and then you get into overtime, and Florida came out really hard. First couple shifts, and the Oilers kind of find their groove. Tough penalty for Nosek. Man, I felt bad for him. You knew the Oilers were going to score, and it's lights out. So I'd say the first period was a draw. The second period, all Florida, and the last 2 were all Oilers.
Yeah, that's how we saw it too. I thought the way Edmonton played in the third and overtime was very significant. And I get it's only one game, but I thought it was a borderline must-win for Edmonton because of what happened last year, Strud. Like, you don't want those demons to show up that you're down 0-3 and you can't find a way to beat Florida. And Edmonton has been so good at home, and they continued that last night. Florida was 30-0 in the playoffs when leading after 2 periods. That got snapped last night. You know, I just think there was a lot of positives if you're the Oilers, including the fact that McDavid and Draisaitl played the way they played and performed the way they performed. And, you know, we were talking about it prior to you coming on. I think that's the Draisaitl game. As great as McDavid was, Draisaitl scores first to get the building rocking and then rocks the building on the way out, scoring in overtime. But, you know, the two of them, they're a 2-man band, and they're unstoppable when they're playing like this, and they look just possessed. Like, I don't know how Florida's going to stop that.
Yeah, so a couple things. If the Oilers win tomorrow, they're up 2-0. I have a hard time seeing any team beating the Oilers 4 to 5 times. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it's over if the Oilers win tomorrow, but, man, I don't think anyone can beat them twice. If I'm an Oilers fan, I'm feeling really good about this, though. Florida basically played 3 lines, and the Oilers played 4 lines. Florida played 3D a ton, didn't play their bottom 2 a ton. The Oilers threw about 6. I want to say their lowest guy was 23 minutes or something.
You think that's the McDavid-Draisaitl factor into that, Jason?
Well, it'd be the other way, though, because I think, you know, in the past, the Oilers have just keep hammering out 97-29.
Yeah. Right?
So now they're all in a situation like you're rolling out 4 lines. And 4 lines, I think the lowest guy in the Oilers, you could check, I think it was around 13 minutes. I know it's 4 periods, but that's not bad. That's not bad. And they were out there contributing, and they were out there when Nosek threw the puck over the glass. So Knobloch trusts their guys. They rolled everyone. Everyone played last night. They had the day off today. They go back tomorrow. I think that the Oilers will be the fresher team. And I don't believe momentum carries from game to game, but your body can only recover so fast when you're playing a ton. And I think for the Oilers, they got a fast start again tomorrow and hit. Get Ekblad, get Macklin. Not you're gonna wear or hurt those guys, but you're gonna wear them down because they're playing so much.
With Jason Strudwick, in terms of the Conn Smythe, we were having this chat party coming on. McDavid's a heavy favorite, and after last night, he'll be even more of a favorite because the Oilers are in the driver's seat now, leading 1-0. Do you think Draisaitl has a shot? Like, is there anything he can do the rest of the way that would allow him to catch up to McDavid, or do you just believe if the Oilers win, it's McDavid and that's that?
Yeah, I mean, I think first off, it needs to be said. I don't think those guys care. I think they just want the big trophy. That's all they want. They forfeit the other one to get the Stanley Cup. I think that if Leon is scoring, like really scores a lot, he can get himself in the conversation. But it is Connor McDavid, and he's been really good through this whole playoffs. A wild card guy I'd throw in there is Stu Skinner, and I know he didn't have the best start, but you look at his recent play and the way he's been playing, and I know it's hard when your backup is 6-0, and all that. But I mean, Stu Skinner in that second period last night was huge for the Oilers. Look at the goalies he's faced down and beat in specifically the last two series. It is crazy how well he's done. So if he can play like last night, I thought he was as good or at times better than Bobrovsky. And if he can do that, he may be a wild card, but in the end, it'll probably be Leon or McDavid. I'd go with 97.
Yeah, I agree, Strud. That's where I was going to go. The goaltender matchup, because Draisaitl scores early, and then Bob looked like he was going to be Bob.
In overtime too, he was making unbelievable saves.
I mean, but Skinner gave them the opportunity, and when you look at this matchup in net, would you agree that Skinner's just got to be good, give them an opportunity, like 9 out of 10? Like last night, his save percentage was .906, 29 for 32, but he made some really timely saves. And at the other end, like Bobrovsky faced 24 high danger chances. I thought he was unbelievable, but they just chipped away at him. I mean, do you see this is how it's going to have to unfold here for the Oilers? So Skinner just giving them the type of goaltending, the quality goaltending that he gave them last night?
Yeah, when you look at it, you obviously give the edge to Bobrovsky. He's the better goalie. But the thing about Skinner is that he only has to have 4 good games. 4 good games, and he had one really good one last night. So can he do that 3 more times? I believe he can. And for the Oilers, breakaways, I thought they beat Bobrovsky. They just weren't able to score. So I think they have the confidence that they think they can beat and score on Bobrovsky, and he is not in their heads like he maybe was to start the series last year.
Well, Strud, it was an incredible start. I mean, it was physical. You mentioned it. That's as good of a hockey game as you can find. And Evander Kane right in the middle of everything we're talking about.
9 hits for Evander last night.
Well, that's one, like you were talking about playing 4 lines and 6 defensemen. He didn't play all year.
Yeah.
And, that could have been a struggle. And maybe at times he's looked rusty against L.A. or what have you. But there's no rust left on his game anymore, Struddy. Like, he got a full year off to recover, albeit, like, tough surgery, tough rehab.
Yeah.
But that guy's at 100%, and he's hitting, he's in the mix, and he's in the fight. Every time he's on the ice, you notice Evander Kane.
Well, so let's look at it. Connor didn't play the last couple of weeks. Leon didn't play the last couple of weeks. Ekholm didn't play the last couple of months. Kane hasn't played since, basically last year. I mean, there's a lot of fresh players. Wallman didn't play much at the end of the year. They valued or prioritized health and freshness over anything else. They didn't care. They're like, okay, whatever. We win the first. We don't really care. We just want to make sure that we're fresh and we're rested. And they've been right. They were proven right. Going into the first round, I picked the Kings in 6. Right, that was my choice. I picked them in 6 because the Oilers were they're in such disarray. We had no idea what they could do when they came together. It took 2 games, and Chris Knoblauch and company got themselves going. And Connor McDavid said it after this 3rd round. He goes, we're just starting to find our game. And I believe him. I still think they have another level to get to because of who they're playing. Florida's really good. They're really good. It feels like there's 6 players on the ice. The way they defend, they attack, they go at you. They're physical. I mean, trying to get to the front of the net it's almost impossible. So they're a really, really good team, and this one is far from over. I did say the Oilers in 5. I'll stand by that. But Florida is so good that I think tomorrow we're going to see another really good effort from them.
Struddy, a lot of press conferences going on around the league. Marco Sturm, new head coach down in Boston, right? There's coaches being named all over the place.
Well, let's ask Struddy the most important thing about his favorite player. We had the debate yesterday, Struddy. If Mitch Marner signs somewhere else and leaves Toronto, do you think they retire his jersey? Yes or no?
Oh, man. Oh, how many jerseys are retired in Toronto? I apologize.
We're not getting. We're not going.
I don't know. 12 or 13, so 10 or 12.
It's a yes or no
something like
answer.
that.
It's a no.
I don't think so. I think he maybe goes into like a Wall of Fame or something like that. They have that circle of
Legends Row.
What is this, a sub shop? The Wall of Fame. This guy, he came here after school every day for 4 years. Wall of Fame.
I mean, you're looking at it like. He was a good Toronto Maple Leaf, but I mean, I think you have to. No, I wouldn't say. I don't think so. I don't think
now is not the right time to answer this question. I mean, because it's so loud and kind of ugly with what just happened a couple weeks ago with the way he played and the way they played. The fact that he's likely going to leave. And that's going to be it, and the DNA change, and he's going to be the face of that. If he leaves, he'll be the face of it.
Yeah.
And right now, no one can suggest it. No one would ever say yes. What the conversation we were getting into yesterday was, in 10 or 15 years, what's going to happen? It's kind of like a Hall of Fame debate. You're going to look back and say, wow, he's 5th in this, he's 4th in that. He played a lot of games here. 9 years is a long time in the NHL.
And I think a storied franchise like that, if you're 5th all time, that's something, man.
And there may be a we got to get the band back together and let's rekindle. And, again, we'll see what happens down the road. Right now, I would say no, and you can't even suggest it. But, again, this is unfortunately not a team, Struddy, they haven't won anything in 60 years. So there's a lot of guys with their numbers retired that they didn't win here either.
Yeah, well, I'm going to give you a comparison. Ryan Smith for the Oilers. I'd be interested if you guys would pull up their numbers and see how they look compared to each other. But Ryan Smith is loved in Edmonton, and he was a really good Oiler for a long time. And he's in their, I forget, the circle of trust. I'm sorry, I'm not in the
Ring of Honor.
What it's called.
Circle of trust.
Whatever it's called. And it was a nice moment. He's in there. And they reserved the banners for the guys that are, Hall of Famers, who are, champions when they were there. Just from the outside, again, I have to sit down and look at all his numbers, but I would say no, and respectfully no, because he's a really good player, and I think wherever he goes, he's going to have a big impact on that group. And then his money left behind will obviously allow the Leafs to change what they need to do, and that's a fascinating offseason. The Leafs are fascinating for me this offseason, not in a joking way, but I think to see what they're going to do. Like, you look what Florida did. When Florida traded those 2 players for Kachuk, it changed their DNA. It changed who they were fundamentally, and he brought attitude to that group. And I think he uplifted guys like Ekblad and Bennett and those guys up. So what did the Leafs do? And if they can they alter their DNA the same way that Florida has? Because Florida is a pig to play against. They are in every scrum. They're grabbing you. They're hitting you. It's so hard to play against. And to think they've done this 3 finals in a row is psychotic.
Yep.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, they're in the fight every single night. They're back in the dance for a 3rd straight year.
Crazy. And
likely not going to take a step back next year. All right, Struddy. Well, you guys are one down out there.
Enjoy the moss pit. Were you out there with tight jeans on last night or what?
It's summer. It's jeans shorts.
Some of the crowd watching out there is hilarious. Like, people will show up with a face paint and a helmet on, and they're in that barn for 5 hours yelling the whole time.
Crazy.
Can you imagine, being in an office setting and someone said to you the next day, Gary, was that you in that gear?
Were you dressed as the Stanley Cup last night? Yeah, that was me.
That's my girl. I love Mama Stanley. That's my favorite. Stanley. She has a sign. Believe. I love her. She's the best.
Okay.
So you actually know somebody that dresses as the Stanley Cup? That's what you're saying?
No, I don't. I've been close to her. I've flirted with greatness, but I don't actually know her that I know of. I actually thought it was you, Noodles.
He'll be out there for Game 5 and Game 7 if it gets there. We'll see Noodles out there. All right,
Oh, I
Struddy.
can't wait.
Enjoy yourself
boys.
out there.
Enjoy.
We'll do it again soon.
See ya.
There he is, Jason Strudwick, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline.
Got an update, too, for you guys.
From Pronger?
Yes.
On the alumni ring? What's your answer? Do you think he has one or no?
No.
I think he does. What's your answer?
Do you want me to read the answer?
Yeah,
Now,
if
there's some swearing.
If it's
in there.
appropriate, yeah. So well, if there's swearing, then there's no.
No, it just goes. I go. Do you have the Stanley Cup Blues Stanley Cup ring? Ha ha. Nope. Do you get one? I go. No, I'm not a floater. Why do you ask? You see someone donning one? I know some alumni got them. I did not want one or ask for one. I go, Carlo Koliakovo got one. He goes, what? F off. He did not. He goes, why would he want one? I hope he paid for it. And I said, who knows? We're talking about it on air. I think it's asinine.
Okay.
And he's writing right now. So.
All right, so Pronger's not happy with that. I'm kind of thinking Carlo, like maybe Al McInnes handed his 89 Cup ring, and that's what was going on
Well, he's very close with Petro. So
and Pietrangelo, could have been Pietrangelo.
I'm assuming Petro let him borrow it.
Yes, or Alex Steen or whatever. Like Steen was on that team in 19, right? He's friends with a lot of guys.
Well, hey,
we'll get to the bottom of it.
He just topped it off. He goes, that would be like Toronto winning and giving Brian McCabe a ring.
Well, Caber was a legend here.
Legend.
We love Brian McCabe. We need to get 24 up into the rafters.
Damn right.
His number up there.
Yes.
All right, we're live at the RBC Canadian Open. Day one is still ongoing. The leaderboard, there's some guys shooting now, man, but we got a lot of Canadian flags up there too, right? Taylor Pendrith is up there at 5 under. Nick Taylor at 4 under. We have Mackenzie Hughes. Hunter Thompson, who's a kid. He was 3 under today, Canadian kid who shot the lights out. So we'll get into that and more. Lawrence Applebaum will join us of Golf Canada around the table, and Pierre LeBrun coming up from Edmonton later this afternoon. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, we're live at the RBC Canadian Open out here at TPC Toronto at Osprey Valley, and round one is underway. We still got a bunch of guys out there on the course. We're out here at the rink hole. We have not had a hole-in-one yet. It's been close. We've heard roars, and we've had a lot of Canadians roll through here. We've seen a lot of big boys, big shooters roll through here. But
I got carried away with the prediction for the hole-in-ones.
Yes.
LA.
Yes, you did.
Did you hear it?
I told him first.
Well, Lawrence Applebaum is here with us, the biggest shooter of them all. There he is. How you doing?
Good. I actually, Jeff was the first one. I saw Jeff, I guess it was a week ago Thursday.
Yeah.
And
you saw me just as I was ripping a drive over the trees right beside the green on my last hole of the day.
It was 15. It was 15. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Imagine my colleagues, Lawrence, questioning what I was doing out there.
Well, there was some. I was concerned. I thought there was a bit of foul play. And now I was led down that path by our good friend James Duthie.
Yeah. I mean,
Duthie.
Let's consider the source.
questionable source is what I was probably going to lead with.
Thank you very much.
I did
See
I did see Jeff, and you know Mr. O'Neill, when he's playing good.
Oh, he's the happiest guy in the world.
There's nobody
Loves
better.
everybody.
There's nobody to be around that I'd rather be around than Jeff O'Neill going deep. And so when Jeff O'Neill I ran into him at 6 under, and the smile was ear to ear. But I think Carlo's smile might have been more. He was a great partner, by the way.
You know what?
He is a hype man.
Well, all he
He's
had
a
to
great
offer
guy.
was not on the course. It was moral support, but he's the best guy. Because he kept tapping me on the shoulder. He's like, I love you. I never got so many I love you mans in a cart and around a golf. He's like, this is awesome. I love you, man.
And I have to, I'll lead with a compliment, because Carlo, for a guy who has taken up the game a little bit later in life, has gotten pretty good pretty fast. But that playoff was abysmal. And it was really hard to look at Jeff watching Carlo, and he recovered. He almost made par, which was really good. But the playoff, and seeing the Nylander brothers play so well in the playoff, that was something to behold. The NHLPA got to give a shout out for our friends who NHLPA playoff with the RBC Canadian Open was really fun.
Yeah, last Thursday we've only heard about this guy. We didn't even know William Nylander was there. Maybe you could have thrown that out, that other players were actually in attendance.
And as well as me and Carlo played, I'll be happy to gas him next year for you.
Okay. The PA, unfortunally, I'm not a member of the players.
Carlo, I didn't mean that. I didn't
Honestly,
mean that.
And we love him. We love him deeply.
We love Carlo. And but he wasn't fishing or anything, was he?
No,
Did he do
I told him, no thanks, not happening. No way.
You can't have that kind of behavior.
Now, did your man get much airtime? I'm sorry, I've been a little bit occupied, but did your man get much airtime for yesterday for his stellar? He had stellar moments.
Some guy sent one video saying, this guy has no first tee jitters whatsoever, and apparently you ripped a drive.
I did mash a drive on one. Up and around the corner, probably 280, 285.
280.
Listen, I'm not going to come in here and talk about my golf game. I don't
was
operate
it 280, 285, or was it?
I mashed the golf ball off one.
What type of number? A serious number, though. Like
it ran out to 285.
It was down fan downhill, 280 by the end of it.
I like that. I think that's fair.
Listen, and then I sculled a 5-iron, and it was trouble from there. But it's all good. We had a great day, and I don't think it's a coincidence. We played with Taylor Pendrith, and he was 500 today.
Yeah.
Right? There's something about when whoever we play with, Lawrence and I in the
Fleetwood, Taylor.
Yes, absolutely.
Pendy, and you've seen Pendy play. It's to see him play so well today, to lead our Canadian group. He was relaxed as anyone that I've had a chance to play with, and he said an interesting stat that he probably played the golf course more than anybody else in the field. There's one local kid, Cougar Collins, who won our Ontario qualifier, who's probably played it 300 or 400 times. But Taylor Pendrith has played this golf course a lot, and it's just awesome to see this beautiful, long extension, gorgeous swing, great guy too.
Matches the ball. He hit one off one about 275. I was impressed. I was impressed.
Do the guys that have anything, I know you're really busy with dinners and entertaining people and taking care of business. Do the Canadian guys, do they have a dinner with all themselves, or they just kind of they're too busy doing their own thing as well?
This week in particular, I think what's so neat, and it makes us all sort of a nice story, is these guys are a great group of brothers, and even there's a nice East Coast West Coast thing with Hads and Nick Taylor with the Ontario guys, but they support each other. They're together. That 3-ball that played together, there was a nice comfort, nice rhythm with I think it was Mac and Nick and Pendy.
Yeah.
They hang out together. They've got a lot of things going on here this week, with family, and they're all pretty relatively close by. So they're a little bit busier this week, but they generally enjoy each other. They're generally pushing each other, and I think that what we used to feel like is a Canadian going to win a PGA Tour event, this week, next week. We're talking about majors now, and we've never talked that way, and it's what makes this kind of a golden moment of golf in Canada.
Who has the biggest input on the pairings? Who the Canadian guys are with? Like, is that you, or is that the tour? Is that
sometimes we ring Jamie?
Yes.
And
Noodles would tell you. Noodles would tell you.
I would weigh in for sure.
Noodles loved this Hunter Thompson kid. That was his pick.
But that's got to be it's a complex thing to put groupings out there with knowing, where the stars are on the course, morning, late, early. That's a complex thing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's two things that the first thing is, to answer your question, is that everything inside the ropes, setting up the golf course, the yardages, the pairings, it's all driven and led by the PGA Tour. And they are so elite and excellent at what they do. There's so many things that go on out here that make it work. A lot of it is based on the marquee groups of who's going to be on TV sort of later in the afternoon, which is really great. Hence, you've got, the marquee Rory group growing off early, late. But that is the thing about golf. Like, look what happened today. We had that early group go off. It was pretty difficult conditions, and then all of a sudden right now you're seeing some really low scores.
Lawrence Applebaum with us, the CEO of Golf Canada. So the three of us with Chris Humanick came up here 2 years ago, maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, and we were playing the North Course, and you guys are building the new state-of-the-art home of Golf Canada up here on the 13th fairway of the championship course now, TPC North. And when we were out here, kind of whispering, I think the Open might be on its way. Now that it's here, it's a new course, a new setup. You guys announced a couple of weeks ago it'll be here next year as well for 2026. Now that the balls are in the air, the people are on the course, how are we feeling about Osprey Valley and TPC Toronto?
Yeah, it was. We've had a lot of great meetings with all our friends from the tour who've come up and put feet on the ground, and also we've had so many of our title partner RBC, and a lot of their folks and clients were up yesterday for the Pro-Am and have been up today to enjoy the day. Jaw-dropping is the adjective that I've heard, which has been really pleasing. It is such a beautiful facility. It feels like a little bit north of the city, a little bit. The earth feels good. It feels like you're out here. It's expansive and beautiful. But what they've built at TPC Toronto, the clubhouse, the villas, the 3 golf courses, it really is a sort of field of dreams. And having back-to-back RBC Canadian Opens, for us to learn about the property in 2025, to come back in 2026, to get you guys right on top of the green in 2026 is one of the things I'm already thinking about for next
push
year.
For that.
So this is what we're trying to do.
Literally hovering over the green.
You think that's going to go well without yelling and screaming about Marner's
about
jersey?
a hut and where Evan Bouchard goes?
Yes, and they'll be like, shut your mouth, we're on the backswing.
I don't think it would be a bad idea. I mean, I think there's potential for us to be right in the mix.
Well, at the U.S. Open in tennis, don't they have an underground almost kind of booth where they're commenting on
yeah, get us underground.
Yes. I want to be in the bunker.
I love that. I love the references, a shout out. Never get a chance to shout out to my wife who used to work at the U.S. Open. They have a bunker. You're thinking also of Wimbledon, by the way. They've got a bunker right now.
The Wimbledon bunker. They're lower, right behind.
I know what you mean.
That is what we should be doing.
Get us in the bunker.
So we have this new insider experience that you guys can see these great stadium seats right on inside on the deck there. But can you imagine Corey Connors? He's teeing it up. He looks back. Jeff gives him the wink. He's like, green light, go for it. This is a good hole position.
I like that idea. Wheels are in motion for next year.
What I like is between 2 and 3 tomorrow, me sitting on those inside seats to get a glimpse of some guys hitting some shots. Is that possible?
Let's make it happen.
Do not make it happen. He wants an alumni ring. He wants guys, inside seats.
We're 50 feet away from the tee. We work here. An hour before work, we should have a little bit of fun and check it out.
Okay.
Hazy, join me.
I'll be there, pal. I'm going to be here all day tomorrow.
Now all of a sudden they're
This guy twists my arm, and then I'm like, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, not a bad idea. Now
Sit there for an hour, watch some
why
shots.
Not? An hour. We'll sit there for an hour.
Listen, it gives me a nice segue to tell people that we're almost in a sellout position for Friday.
Yes.
And we're looking good for the weekend. But 3 o'clock, I don't know if 3 o'clock's too close to the show, but an hour or two before the show, we're going to get a couple of guys from OverDrive out of the Insider Experience Stadium seats. I think that's going to be pretty popular.
I love it. Rink hole 14. What is it? RBCCanadianOpen.com for tickets all throughout the weekend.
That'll cause a buzz.
I think that creates a significant buzz. So how often, do you reset? Like you mentioned, learn the grounds, and then for next year you change it up. Like, how important is that? Where does your mind actually go? Like, we're goofing around about this, but how much would realistically change between now and next year?
Well, I think when you're having an inaugural PGA Tour event, the tour is very involved in player feedback, caddy feedback. We had a lot of discussion yesterday. Brian and I were able to have the course architect or the renovator who led the renovation, a gentleman named Ian Andrew, walked with us. He was right at Pendy's ear listening to how he's playing a hole, how he's looking at it. So all that course feedback comes to play. Most of our team at Golf Canada is trying to look at logistics and trying to improve on moving on the golf course. And this is a big ballpark, so a lot of moving parts and delivering food and drinks to suites. But we also want to make we want to focus on a great consumer experiences. We want people to have a great time, whether they're a general admission ticket or a suite buyer. And we acknowledge, we learned some things today with the really tough weather and some parking challenges that we had. And the team's already reset for tomorrow and the weekend. But for us, you forget that at these stadiums that you guys spend your lives in, these are established, concrete, beautiful stadiums, rinks, barns. We have to build this city from almost scratch. And so it's a real testament to this grouping that we have of the tour, our title sponsor RBC, Golf Canada, and TPC Toronto. And I got to probably give a shout out to our great partners at the Province of Ontario who've really supported this event and really made golf a priority in this province. So it's been amazing.
It's cool.
Lawrence Applebaum with us, the CEO of Golf Canada. So McIlroy won over. Like Rory's, I know he's your guy. You're rooting for the Canadians, but we love McIlroy. What are we expecting him to shoot tomorrow? How does he reset?
Yeah, I think we were talking about it a little bit before that he went out at a tough time today when the weather was a little bit dodgy and sort of endured some rain, a little bit of wind. It softened the golf course. Now we got great conditions and guys have really shown it. I had a chance to briefly chat with him after the round, and I think he's really focused on an amazing number tomorrow. I think if you look at his second round scores, he's super competitive and very aggressive. So Rory McIlroy in sort of a very focused position, I think will be great. That's the beauty of it. RBCCanadianOpen.com for tickets, because he's going out in the afternoon and he knows the number he's going to have to shoot. Like that's get your popcorn out. You can't ask for better entertainment than that. Because if he comes out tomorrow and he's like, I'm shooting 65, he's probably going to shoot 65. Might even shoot 64.
I was just going to say, he might shoot a 64.
Might even shoot 64 tomorrow.
Has anyone touched up on 64 today, by the way?
Olesen shot a 61. Are we seeing that correctly?
Unfortunately, your course record isn't holding up anymore.
Cameron Champ shot a 62.
Yeah, so there's some numbers out there, man. There's some numbers. Rory's going low tomorrow.
It couldn't be more ideal in this last couple hours where softer golf course. It's sunny, it's bright. It's actually, you can't believe what beautiful we saw this morning, and it's gorgeous.
This weather right now is when you tee it up and say, this is scoring weather. You just, no wind, beautiful out, and you just dial it in.
Well, that's coming tomorrow. McIlroy in the afternoon. You're going to have the Canadians out in the afternoon. Pendrith will be out.
Yeah,
right?
Rory's going to have
Nick
to take
Taylor.
it deep tomorrow, man. He's got to take it downtown.
Let's see it happen tomorrow afternoon out here at TPC Toronto at Osprey Valley. All right, L.A., great seeing you, man. What you got? I guess you're busy. What, do you get dinners every single night? Just a big shooter around here? What are we doing?
You know what? This show is so elite in so many ways, but the focus on the dinners is
we
a high.
Love it. That's the inside info.
If
we're really looking for.
There was chicken penne pesto last night or tonight, these two would be asking, "Hey, can we roll by that dinner?" Or
This is a true story. I was at Lawrence has a reception on the Wednesday night of the Canadian Open. We're over at the Heathlands. It was a beautiful new clubhouse, unbelievable
And you
turnout.
went and made a pig of yourself.
I was standing in the corner. Lawrence was up on the mic and speaking, and I was in the corner, and there were 3 servers with 3 different platters surrounding me like I was Homer Simpson, and I was one-timing them. Every 5th word he'd say.
You were playing whack-a-mole with the serving plates.
I was mashing food last night, and it was phenomenal.
Wow.
Well, the one thing was really nice. The Humanek family and Chris Humanek, they built this Heathlands facility for events, and it's a wonderful space for a lot of things. But they've done a restaurant, and it's an elite experience. And Brian decided he was going to do a tasting menu last night.
Yes, I did.
So he just went to work.
Come on, man, you're representing us. I know we're idiots, but you have to do better.
They had a charcuterie set up there. I was posted like Patrick Ewing up on this thing. Like literally people be like, can you move? And I was like, actually, I can't. I'm standing here. I was setting up shop around that thing. It was a great setup. Great seeing you, Lawrence, as always.
Great.
Thank you for joining us. We love seeing you every year. We'll be seeing you all week. We're going to be here tomorrow. I'm going to be here Saturday. It's going to be an unbelievable weekend.
Thank you, guys. Great to see you here. It's actually one of the things I get asked about probably the most. The non-golf things is, are the OverDrive guys going to be set up? Is TSN going to be here? So we know you love golf. It's another year's gone by. Our scores have gotten a little bit better, and we still have to get Jamie. We see Jamie getting out there a little more in the year.
We're getting him out next year. 100%. He'll be in there. There he is, Lawrence Applebaum, CEO of Golf Canada. Great seeing you, LA. Thank you for doing this. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Again, the Overdrive PJ Picks brought to you by TaylorMade. When you need more performance, distance, and speed from your golf ball, it's time to switch. Learn more about the all-new TP5, TP5X at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. We had to do our picks via text chain last night because, unfortunately, we had to leave abruptly.
Broke our hearts?
It did. You took Rory McIlroy, and McIlroy was 1 over today, and he's got to really shoot low tomorrow. Now, that is going to be a blast to see. Like, I'm coming out here for when he puts that peg in the ground. I think he tees off at, like, 2 o'clock, something like that.
You're going to be right there, eh?
Well, because if he's looking at the board and it's like, I have to shoot a 67 or better, watching him, if he's in the mood and he's like, I got to put up a number, he is going to be taking on angles that will make you
You'll go right
laugh.
at it, eh?
Yes. He's like, I'm going after everything. I'm cutting every corner. Like, his driver is – there are times on this course where guys are pulling 5 woods out, 3 woods out.
Yeah.
He won't be doing that tomorrow.
He will just say, watch what I'm about to bring to the table. Bomb and gouge around here.
Yeah.
And if it gets hot, that'll be something you want to see. That'll be incredible. So, yeah, we're at Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight. And I think there's some concern that this could be a blowout, like Oklahoma City could just absolutely destroy
Woodshed.
I kind of think that's
Indiana.
going to happen.
You think so?
I do.
My only thought that would push back on that is that they're all so young, and these lights are very bright in the NBA
Yeah.
Finals.
Yeah, but, dude, they just think – it's just – I think they're all behind Shea, and they – like, their record was outrageous.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And I don't think anything phases them, man.
No, and that's the thing. Like, Denver pushed them to an extent, and they got to Game 7, and that was it. But they swept the first round. They won the last round in 5. They're so talented. They're so deep. They have home court. They're like a 9.5, 10-point favorite in Game 1 tonight.
Like, didn't you kind of get a vibe about them? Yeah, a good, young, talented team, but Denver's just going to smoke them. That didn't happen.
No,
like,
it didn't.
It just doesn't seem like much has phased them.
No, and I think it would complete like a great story again for them being a young team in a market like that. Now the whole market conversation is circulating, and Adam Silver is trying to promote that this is great for the NBA, and he's using the NFL as an example, and he was on a show on Fox saying, well, if this was Green Bay against the Steelers, you'd be saying this is amazing, and
right.
People are naturally pushing back on that basketball is not football. Like, football is exponentially more popular. People love the sport more. It doesn't mean there aren't diehard basketball fans. There are.
There are, yeah.
But it's no different with hockey, with baseball. You can't look at the NFL and say, well, if they did it, you'd be – the NFL's a different beast.
It is. It's on a different planet.
Completely different planet.
Different.
Like, you're not the NFL.
No.
And neither's the NHL, neither's Major League Baseball. And you're never going to be down in the States.
Exactly.
So any comparison using the NFL is not going to work. Speaking of the Steelers, and we'll get into this in the next hour.
Your guy.
My boy Aaron Rodgers is locked in. 1-year deal with the Steelers. Mini camp starting next week. Real camp's right around the corner. We'll touch on that into the next hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Final hour OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan. We missed out on Jerry's yesterday. I could fire off a couple of rapid-fire Jerry's.
Should, if they apply.
Okay.
If they apply, because you said earlier they might still apply to the Cup final. No.
Yeah, some of them were. I don't even remember, man. Jerry, he's a busy guy. You know, I think he was calling in. He recorded them on the fly. I don't know exactly what happened with Jerry yesterday.
Hates Canada. Hates a Canadian team in the final.
Yes, I think there was a lot of that, unfortunately. But Pierre LeBrun's coming up in a moment. He was in the building. I think Jerry threw out the idea that Leon Draisaitl will win the Conn Smythe. Like, what's your mini Jerry on 29 winning the Conn Smythe?
Mini Jerry on Draisaitl.
18%.
Is that just because of the McDavid factor?
McDavid factor, and if Florida comes back, there's like them playing.
Well, that's true, too, yeah.
If you go 50-50.
Okay, we got to change it to Edmonton wins, Leon Draisaitl's the Conn Smythe.
Okay, if you presume the Oilers are going to win the Stanley Cup, Draisaitl wins the Conn Smythe.
I'm at 20% then, 22%.
I'm at 80. Sorry.
What?
So
we've got a hut built. We've got a dry.
Now McDavid's got 20% chance of winning the Conn Smythe.
Dude, hasn't Draisaitl been the go-to sniper, like just dynamic in the playoffs?
He's been great.
He has been. I think it's fair to say that it could be closer to a coin flip. Now, McDavid has more points. McDavid, I think, has had a better overall performance.
What happens if he scores 4 more goals in this series?
I think that's very possible that he's in it.
Why did you laugh at my percentage?
Because
then?
I thought 80% was wild, considering McDavid's his teammate.
No way.
Even if you just
what about
said
Evan
50,
Bouchard, your boy?
You just said, even if it was 50-50.
Guys, I've told you this in the past. This segment is about having some stones.
No,
if you want to go and be 25 under, not at this course, at our favorite course called the No Balls Open, that's what you can do. I'm not doing that.
I'm telling you.
You got Leon Draisaitl 80%.
80%. No, it's not 80%.
Well, he does. He does. You don't. I'll say 29%.
There you go, 29.
29%. I think McDavid's still in the driver's seat. You got to remember, the writers are the one voting for this.
Yeah.
The idea that McDavid gets it, wins the Cup,
It was
the
like
Conn
that
Smythe.
1 year Pitt one where, like, there was a couple times where there was other outstanding
Could have been
performances.
Matt Murray the 1 year.
They
That's
just
right.
wheeled right to Sidney Crosby.
Yep, and generally speaking, that kind of happens. Like, you complete the storyline,
Yes,
right? Like
yes.
McDavid, he won it last year, even though the team didn't win. This year they win it, and he gets it. I think Draisaitl helped his case significantly last night, though.
Yeah.
But McDavid probably shouldn't have hurt his case. He was brilliant, especially late in that game.
Yeah.
Here's Pierre LeBrun, our TSN hockey insider, who was in the building, and I think he might have a Conn Smythe vote.
I think he does, too.
All right, Pierre, what's your with that in mind, mini Jerry's percentages that Leon Draisaitl wins the Conn Smythe?
Well, I can't tip my hand, obviously. Yeah,
Oh.
we do. The committee of voters is not that big, so I don't want to tip my hand yet. But obviously, we got to see the rest of the series play
Is
out.
he in the race for you after last night?
Well,
He's in the
of course,
hunt.
Absolutely. How could he not be? There's
Okay.
no question. And let me just touch on something that annoyed me last year that I never really got a chance to really comment on because basically the season ended in July 1st and then I disappeared for 8 weeks. But for those who criticized our vote last year for McDavid winning in a losing cause, buzz off. Like, he was so much better head and shoulders than everyone else in the playoffs last year. It's a 4-round award. He obliterated the field. And, yes, you're allowed to win an MVP if your team loses in that situation. So
A lot of
there you go. I feel
traditionalists, though,
better now.
Pierre. A lot of
I feel
people
better.
think it's
better
got to
now.
go to the winning team. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying I disagree with that. That's not what it says on the definition of the award when you vote on it.
Okay.
Anyway.
But how would
got
that
off my chest.
Okay, let me ask you this then. I don't know if you can get into this because, again, you're a man of integrity and you have a vote. Could that happen again? If, like, McDavid's been better than anyone on the Florida Panthers, what if Florida wins in 7? Could you see McDavid winning the Conn Smythe again?
The gap would have to be, again, offensively staggering like it was last year. So, you know, I don't know. If Florida wins, and let's say Sam Bennett has a couple more goals in this series, Sam Bennett's having an unbelievable playoff.
Yep.
I kind of see Sam Bennett probably winning in that scenario. He's not only does he have 12 goals, 11 of his 12 goals are on the road. Like, you want to talk about a guy who's bringing it when it matters. So in that scenario, if Florida wins and Bennett has a couple more big moments, I'm sure Leaf fans would be proud and happy for Sam Bennett to win the Conn Smythe.
You can make a lot of money, man.
Pierre, like, is it possible that, like, he's putting more change in his pocket, or does he just have a number that's going to get wherever he wants it, whether that be in Florida or elsewhere?
Yeah, I think he's helped himself, because it's funny. I literally had this conversation today with someone. Sam Bennett is one of the most interesting UFA cases in recent years, because if he leaves Florida, and he may not, I mean, listen, if they win another cup and he loves life there, maybe his number will come down. I mean, they obviously haven't been close in talks since last summer. But if he stays, he stays. But if he goes to market, his agent is Darren Ferris, same agent as Mitch Marner. I talked to a few teams who said, you know, the first thing you got to do if you sign Sam Bennett is explain to your market that you're signing this guy for playoff Sam Bennett. Don't get too caught up into what his point total looks like over 82 games. And you know, for obvious reasons. I mean, the way that he plays in the playoffs and raises his game is physically not sustainable if he played the exact same way in October. Let's be real. So it's a fascinating case. I mean, I think there's some teams willing to pay him $10 million a year. But he's not going to put up $10 million offensive numbers in the regular season, I don't think. But he'll be worth it if he leads you to a cup. Absolutely. So that's a real interesting test case for me. That one's really going to split the data crowd from the traditionalists in terms of what they see value in Sam Bennett. And listen, I get both arguments. I mean, a lot of people get paid to put up points, but there's also value in being a guy who wins championships. Let's be real.
So, Pierre, you're in the building last night. I mean, it was a fantastic game. What was your first impressions and really your last impressions? Because there was a different pathway throughout the game where, you know, Edmonton starts quickly, the response, the challenge, you know, Bennett puts them up 3-1, and then the Oilers, you know, storm back and really take control of the game near the end.
I feel, Noodles, like we saw what we might see in the entire series in one night. I mean, so number one, these two teams have had their way with most of their competition throughout the playoffs, right? I mean, they've each had 5-game series wins. You know, they've been so much better than the opposition when it's mattered. I don't think they're going to be able to do that to each other for long periods of time. So last night, I think, is a microcosm of what the series will be. You know, there were stretches where the Panthers' forecheck was too much for Edmonton, and they're buzzing in Edmonton's zone. And then there's long stretches where Edmonton's in Florida's zone. And it's like, I think what they're going to do to each other is make themselves feel as uncomfortable as they have the entire playoffs. Because the margins, to me, are so thin between them. They're so closely matched up, in my opinion, that it's going to be that close a series in my mind. And, you know, the tilting point for me last night was when Chris Knobloch decided to load up with 97 and 29. That changed the game. And, you know, kind of an obvious move. When you need offense, I get it. But I asked Knobloch about it today at his availability. You know, it's not something that he loves to do too much. He really talked about the fact that he'd rather have Draisaitl drive his own line. But whenever he's done it, again, in these playoffs, midway through a game, the results are unreal. And, you know, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I don't see those two guys starting game 2 together. I think it's clear from Knobloch's answer today to that question that he likes to keep that in the toolbox and just take it out when he needs it. But he doesn't believe, bigger picture, that it's the best form for his lineup.
Pierre, as a journalist, what are you looking for from a coach or the players the day after the game, considering that you spoke to everyone the night before? Is there something that you'd like to you let them sleep on and then poke and prod?
Probably showed you my hand. I mean, I'm writing about the Oilers' incredible dilemma of whether to load up all the time with with their two superstars, or they keep them apart, and when they decide to do one or the other. And so a lot of my questions today to both the Oilers and the Panthers and the availabilities were based around that notion. So I'm basically trying to build up my column and get the kind of answers that'll support what I'm writing about. But also there's lots of days in between games where you've got to chase the news of the day. As it turns out today, there isn't. Both coaches said their lineups are good to go, no changes. No one nicked up. But, that's what you do in the off days. You're trying to find, story angles, and it's not hard to do with these two teams, honestly. There's lots to write about between these two teams.
With Pierre LeBrun, our TSN Hockey Insider. So last night, Sam Bennett, I don't know if he's tripped, accidentally on purpose, runs into Skinner.
Dude, sorry, that was a joke.
Finds a way to go in, but in the end, challenged and 0 for 4. Like, basically, the league is telling teams, what's the point of having the challenge system if it seemingly never goes the way of the team that's challenging?
I am so happy you asked that question. It's fine. That is the question of the day.
Yeah.
So you get the award.
Yes. Thank you.
And I'll tell you why, because I literally was having that conversation last night and today. When we were at the GM meetings, first of all, the league and the hockey ops spent hours and hours on this, on the coach's challenge, goalie interference review with the GMs a couple months ago in Florida. They also allowed us, the media, into the same room one day and gave us a version of that presentation. We watched a bunch of clips. They explained to us what they're looking for. They want to get to a place where, everyone agrees on what is and what isn't. And listen, I'm not criticizing anyone because I think it's undoable. It is so subjective. The whole goalie interference coach's challenge. And I remember that day, if you go find the hits for Insider Trading, Dregs and I and CJ, I'm telling you, I said in that hit that day that this will be a nightmare come the Cup final. Because the reality is, I don't care what the league says or anyone says, it's impossible to find that comfort zone where everyone looks at that play and it's automatic what you think. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing that I remember. Gary Bettman sat in on that media session that we had at the GM meeting and emphasized very clearly to our group that the call on the ice matters a lot. And that coaches should not challenge unless they feel they have unbelievable, compelling evidence to overturn what they saw on the ice. And I remember leaving that room thinking, I wouldn't do a challenge. I would not do a challenge in the Stanley Cup final, I think. I'm not criticizing Chris Knobloch. I mean, his goalie got knocked over. But I'm telling you, I remember leaving that day saying the call on the ice is going to be an 80-90%er in the playoffs. And it's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, it is. And, of course, it's Sam Bennett right in the middle of it again with another goalie, and he's running into goalies. And
who falls 4 feet backwards? That's the only thing you have to look at.
You know what I thought of? You remember Austin Powers was like, oh, I fell over, and he's pretending to fall. That's what he was doing because he was kind of falling back and stumbled back. There's no doubt Kulak and him click skates.
It wouldn't. Nothing you could do. I've been in front of the net a zillion times. No matter how you go down, unless Chris Pronger skates from the blue line towards the net and cross-checks you in the face is the only way you can go backwards that far. That's lunacy they allowed that goal. Lunacy.
Yeah. Except that because of what I just said, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right. They called their
I
shot.
get what you're saying, but it's so hard to overturn these. And the Oilers, they feel that Kulak, barely touched Bennett in their minds. And Knobloch said after the game he would challenge that again. But I don't know, man. I think everyone involved, whether it's Paul Maurice or Chris Knobloch, you better be so sure that you're overturning that thing because you're giving up a power play otherwise.
You're right. And I think it wasn't a TSN turning point because it was so early in the game and so early in the series. The difference between, the Quizmaster was messaging me saying, oh, it's Jim Hiller all over again. I said, no. Jim Hiller was late in the game.
The Quizmaster's like Duthie. He likes tearing people down as well.
But the Quizmaster said to me, he goes, that's, that could be the difference. I said, it's 5 minutes into the game, into the series. Like, just let it play out. And yes, it played out in Florida's favor. And it took the Oilers a long time to get the game back because they had the game early on. The momentum, Pierre, you could speak to it. The building seemed like it was rocking, and Florida got life out of it. But I would challenge that every day of the week right now.
Absolutely, and I hear everything you just said, Pierre, and you called your shot that this was going to be aggravating or confusing or frustrating. Yet, it's one thing, like a lot of these are tedious. A lot of times you're like, I don't know, was his stick in the way? Did he clip?
Right.
Like the guy blows a wheel right into – Skinner had no shot.
It was like he tripped up and then he took three – how'd you take 3 steps backwards?
Well, now, because Edmonton won, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter in the end. The Oilers end up winning. And it's a must. It feels like a must-win for Florida tomorrow. I know Paul Maurice is going to – wax poetically. We were down 0-2 against the Leafs, and it's all good. I'm sorry, man. The way Edmonton's playing, the way they play at home, I feel like Florida's got to win tomorrow night, Pierre. And I feel if they don't, it's basically green light special for the Oilers.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I will say, and the Panthers, though, certainly did not seem rattled today, those who talked to us, and they shouldn't be. I mean, they're 8-3 on the road in these playoffs. Their road record since the start of 23 is ridiculous, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, they should just ask to play all their games on the road. It's ridiculous. So because of that, they feel really good about going into the more night-evening this series. But, the other thing I want to say about last night, because Noodles was asking me about the building, it went pretty quiet for a bit, after the Marchand goal, and because everyone's a bit in shock. But this is where, if you believe in this stuff or not, I don't know. You guys can tell me, but a year ago, the Oilers are admitting it a bit more now, but a year ago, the Oilers were a little wide-eyed in their first Cup final. And Stuart Skinner said last night that when he saw the Cup rolled out at center ice for Game 1 last year, he was googly-eyed. He said after the game last night. These guys did not flinch last night. The thing that really impressed me, and McDavid talked about this after the game with us, they didn't come out of their game plan in chasing that tie game. They stayed with their system. They didn't cheat. They didn't try to stretch the play as much as they needed to. They absolutely stuck with it until they got the 2 goals they needed to tie it. And I don't know if that poise is there 12 months ago in Game 1 of the Cup final.
Yep.
So that's the dangerous thing now for Florida, because obviously Florida's in 3 straight Cup finals, so they know what they're doing. But now you're playing the team that has back-to-back. And I think that aspect alone gives the Oilers a pretty serious chance at ending Canada's Stanley Cup drought.
Well, we'll see come tomorrow night. 1 down for the Edmonton Oilers. It was a great game last night. It must have been incredible to be there. The city's buzzing, I'm sure. Enjoy it. Game 2 tomorrow. Safe travels getting down to Florida, and we'll do it again soon.
Well, I love being here, but I see you guys at the Canadian Open, and I'm pretty darn jealous myself.
Yeah.
So, did O shoot another 64 again in his spare time?
Tell me people are talking about it in
Everybody's
Edmonton.
talking about the 64. I don't know. It's a big deal. Amateur golfer 64. I don't know.
Please.
I love it.
With an asterisk.
Yeah, with a significant one.
Get serious.
A
You guys are such
significant
idiots.
asterisk. All right, Pierre. Thanks, buddy.
All right, guys. See ya.
Here's
Awesome.
Pierre LeBrun, our TSN Hockey Insider. All right, Steve Sands, our boy Sandsy, joins us every year on set. Now, he works for the Golf Channel.
Yes.
If this guy steps in and goes, I've heard about the 64 by the O-Dog, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
I'm out of here, and you're on your own.
He hasn't heard about. This is the first he's heard about it.
I'll go with you. It's our second day. We can leave early.
We do appreciate that. Yeah, we do appreciate that.
Got lots to talk about, though.
We do, yes. Day 1. I mean, there's still some players out there, but we're at the rink hole. They're literally like, what are they doing back there? They've got a drill
there was
out.
a drone, but there was a drone flying
Was
around.
that what it was? They're flying a drone around.
But I mean,
Okay.
we got some Ovi talk, I would imagine.
Yeah, I wonder if Sandsy's aware
Caps
of the
collapse.
The caps collapse.
Whoa,
I don't know about that.
The caps collapse.
I would be careful with that because he's going to come back with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I know what he's
stuff
coming
there,
back
too,
with.
right?
Yep. Steve Sands will join us live from the RBC Canadian Open next.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, best bets coming up a little bit later in the hour. You got game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight. Game 1 of the Cup Final went down last night. Edmonton winning in overtime. Unbelievable game. The Jays won big today. They're red hot. And we've got the RBC Canadian Open. We're out here at TPC Toronto at Osprey Valley. And it's an annual tradition. Our boy Steve Sands from the Golf Channel and NBC joins us. Great to see you, Sandsy.
Well, don't be nice now.
Well, I'm just saying.
You're tossing the break. You're throwing the caps under the bus.
Well,
64, by the way.
That is. Oh, don't start.
I'm not going to. I don't want you to leave. I had heard about it yesterday.
No, you
I just want to know one thing.
I heard asterisk. I heard complete garbage.
Thank you.
It could have been a 62. It could have been an 82, and we landed on 64.
Okay, then I'll stay because that's the kind of stuff I like to hear.
I would just like to know, that news kind of went crazy. You guys at the Golf Channel, how did you break it down the round I had?
I can't say we did. I can't say we did. I just sat at the bar up at the street here and just kind of watched some pucks and kind of went along my way. By the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yes.
Are you kidding me with this 97-29?
Unbelievable.
It is I remember Gretzky coffee. I remember a lot of the great combinations.
Pretty damn
But you
good,
can't tell me there's a better combination in all of sports right now than those two. You knew that was going to happen.
I agree with
Gretzky
you.
called it, by the way, on American TV after the third period before the overtime. Gretzky said it's going to be an assist from Connor, and Draisaitl just buried it. And my God, are they fun to watch or
They're
what?
the two best players in the world on the same team.
Before we get to golf, can you explain something to me as an American sports fan? I'm from D.C., as you know.
Yeah.
There is no way on the planet, no way, that I could root for the Penguins or the Rangers to win the Stanley Cup
I know
once the Caps get eliminated. Why is it that the last couple of days, I know Canadians are the Canadians are the nicest people in the world, and I realize that Americans are jerks, especially right now up here. But how on earth are people in Toronto who are diehard Leafs fans rooting for Edmonton?
Well, it's an annual conversation around here.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Polarizing.
You don't get it.
I think Canadians, for the most part, they believe in having a cheat team. So your team's out. It's like there's another team in the country that has an opportunity to end the slump in Canada. We haven't won a cup since '93. Jump on board with the Oilers.
There's some civic pride, patriotism in the idea that a Canadian team's got to get one. But here's what I would say. But here's another element of it. Leaf fans, they hate the Florida Panthers.
Okay,
so you're not rooting for the Panthers.
Well, they hate Brad Marchand.
Right.
Yes, they absolutely do. So there's a part of it that's like almost anyone the Panthers would play, they'd root for. I look at it like I want to see the two players you just mentioned.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see happen.
And keep
It's
in mind,
not about Edmonton. It's not about Canada or
this
anything.
guy grew up, both of them grew up here. He's known about McDavid since he was 10 years old.
I went to see him
I mean?
play. He was playing for the Toronto Marlies, like a AAA team.
He was
Toronto.
filling up buildings.
Filling up buildings,
bet.
playing a year up. I went to see him play what they call the OHL Cup, and it was like the place was packed. There must have been 2,000 people in there. He was 13 years old playing with 14-year-olds.
Now, in America, you have to win a title. It's like golf. There are plenty of players who have won majors who are not considered great. But to be considered great and all-time, you have to win a major.
And I totally agree with that.
In America, you've got to.
You have to win to be a legend.
Ovechkin had to win one cup.
Yes.
Nobody will ever bother him ever again because of it.
Right.
Does McDavid have to win one?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Do Canadians feel that way?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to.
You got to win.
If you're going to be considered an all-time great, which he's already in that conversation.
Gosh, is he incredible.
You have to win. I know it's more difficult now, and there's a salary cap and 32 teams. And guess what? He knows that. McDavid
more than
knows
anyone,
that. Of
and
course.
he wants it more than anyone. That's what makes him a special player.
That's what is incredible about these guys who are wired that way.
Watching him play hockey is like watching Steph Curry play basketball. It is if you have no stake in it, and I have no stake in it at all with either one of those teams, it's just a joy to watch that guy play hockey. He is absolutely spectacular.
It's an art form.
Yeah, he's a freak, but in a good way. You're just like, there's McDavid, and then everybody else is a cut below. And Draisaitl isn't.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's McDavid, Draisaitl, and then everybody else. Like that's so good. But they're so different the way they play. Draisaitl's a big physical guy. I don't know if you saw. He was, guys were going after him. He goes after them. Like and McDavid's just another. He's like a video game. That's what he is.
Ballet.
That's exactly what it is.
It is incredible. By the way, if somebody dons a 63 out here this week just to poke the bear here at the rink hole, Will they get thrown out of here? Will a
possibly.
player get attacked if he puts on a 63 sweater? That Marchand cannot be popular up here.
Do you know how many times he's eliminated the Leafs?
I know. That's what I'm saying. I got 7 or 9.
It's 5. But that's enough.
But that's in Game 7.
5 games.
Yeah, Game 7.
Game 7. He's 5-0 against the Leafs in Game 7.
He's still licking ears and stuff. Give me a break with that guy.
And guess what? Leaf fans are. I will speak.
We want to sign him.
He's available this summer, and I guarantee you there will be a lineup for this guy because he's a winner. And he's a hell of a player, man.
I'm telling you, Sansa, you can hate him all you want until he's on your team, and then you love him.
Imagine if he gets you guys over the hump. Was it 67, right?
Yeah.
If he gets you guys, I'm just messing with you. if he gets you guys over the hump, he could have the key to the city.
Oh, he'd have a statue immediately.
Today, they hate him.
Yes, that's right.
Great.
It can flip that quickly.
I love sports, man.
Sports is the most beautiful thing ever.
Your family and sports, you can have the rest, man. All of it.
Steve Sands with us. So McElroy is in that vein of the McDavids and the Currys. He shot one over today. He has spoken openly about.
Oh, did I say Coffee? I meant Yari Curry.
Yes, Curry.
Yes, sorry, I apologize.
Well, Coffee was on that
Coffee
team
too, but it was Gretzky and Curry.
Yeah,
sorry, not Coffee.
Right.
My apologies.
Right. McElroy won over, and the cut line now, based on what we saw in the afternoon, it might be 3 under, 4 under tomorrow. Like, he's going to have to shoot a number tomorrow. Where do you think his headspace is at going into the round?
I think it's a little better this afternoon than it was yesterday. I think he, needs to get out there and compete, needs to get out there and see what that driver is doing. And he talked to our Kira K. Dixon on our telecast earlier before we came on with you guys, and he was saying, I was missing the other driver to the left. Now I'm missing this one to the right a little bit, and I need to figure that out. And, give me another day tomorrow, a good day tomorrow. I get 2 extra rounds in on Saturday and Sunday because, next week the U.S. Open, and you're going to need your driver there. So I think he's in a little bit of better headspace now after competing for one day and having a Pro-Am yesterday than he was yesterday.
Okay, yeah, because he's put in the QI35, the new driver, like he was playing the old one for a while, and he's put that in, and he bogeyed 17, 18. Now, he started off on 10.
Yeah.
So he had not seen the front 9 before because he played the back 9 in the Pro-Am yesterday. But you mentioned Oakmont right around the corner. Like, everyone's kind of buzzing about that test.
Yep.
And Rory, for a number of years, has loved the idea of coming up here, play the Canadian Open, and it prepares him for that. You get the impression other guys are doing that this week, kind of with that mentality, because it's a really good field this year.
It is, and I don't want anybody up here to ever think, as people ask us this every week before a major championship, no one's up here. These guys are professional athletes. They are trying to win. No one's trying to get 4 days of practice rounds in here. No one's trying to get a couple extra rounds in just to warm up for Oakmont. They are here to compete and to win, and to McElroy's credit, he's won this thing twice.
Right.
So I think that the field is excellent because I just think it's a great event. We come up here once a year. The fans are insane. It's so much fun. It's just a little different. It doesn't feel as different as it would be as if you're going over to Europe or going over to Asia. But I think the guys love it here. I think there's a word-of-mouth situation on the PGA Tour. Just like in sports, it's a copycat league with things that you're doing. I think word-of-mouth matters when you're actually picking and choosing which events you go to. And I think people want to come here and support this event. RBC's been a great sponsor for years. They also do Hilton Head, and I think that kind of resonates with the guys.
I think there's a 59 watch going on right now.
There is. Yeah. Cristobal del Solar.
Yeah, del Solar.
Man, I saw him hit in on 4. Like, I was watching him for a couple of holes. I'm like, this looks like a decent player. I'd never heard of him before.
Unlike this Phantom 64, he shot a 57, by the way.
Wow.
On the Corn Ferry Tour.
I saw that. It was early last year.
Down in South America, he shot a 57. Now
he missed like a 4-footer, too.
Correct. Now, the yardage was about the yardage that you had, probably about 5,000 yards when you shot your 64 or 62 or 81, whatever it was.
It was the most legit round of golf. You watch golf for a living, man. I was dialed in. It was 64. It was legit.
Don't look at me, Sansi. I can't help you.
I just can't believe you're okay with a 64 and walking off the green at 15.
Sansi, you're one of the most respected golf fans. I thought you were going to
sit 3 holes to go, man.
I thought you were going to do me a solid and do like a
you don't win after the second period. You got to play the third.
Live from the RBC Open, I thought you were going to interview me and ask me about the round.
You got to play the third, and sometimes you got to go to overtime like last night. You can't walk off on the 15th.
He's expecting like Kira K. Dixon to be waiting for him.
I want to do a
walk out of
putting
here.
green interview on the Golf Channel about my round.
I'm gonna tell Jim Nance and see if he says hello, friends. Did you see the 64 earlier?
Yeah, I love that idea. On
If
Saturday.
he leads off with hello, friends, one of the hockey guys blew a 64 at this track earlier in the week, I'll go bananas.
All right, let's make it happen.
By the way, the sub 60 round here, it's a par 70. And it's wet. It rained a ton last night.
So
this would not have happened yesterday.
Right.
Because it got soft.
Well, what does that
these
mean
guys
for
are too
tomorrow? Does that mean they just, because tomorrow, if it's kind of nice and it's a little bit soft, that means they take it really deep.
In the morning, especially. In the morning when the greens are fresh and there's no wind and it's drying out, I think somebody tomorrow morning could go really,
and that's
really
the guys
well.
that are still on the course right now.
Yeah. And if you play well ask anybody on the PGA Tour, if you play well in the afternoon, you love if you're going to play well morning or afternoon, you want it to be afternoon because you get right back out there in the morning.
How about our Canadian golfers? What are you making of them?
You know, I think, golly, I wish Corey Connors would putt just a little bit better because he's just such a great ball striker.
God,
he's such a great guy.
Yeah.
Taylor Pendrith played well.
Yep.
Nick Taylor,
4 under.
Yesterday, 4 under. Nick Taylor played well again. And, of course, he ended the streak a couple of years ago with that crazy putt over Tommy Fleetwood in the playoff. Pat Fletcher in 54 was the last Canadian to do it. Nick told me yesterday, it was funny. We were in the Pro-Ams on the 18th, and some lady and a kid or a mom maybe, they're yelling, Nick, Nick, Nick. And I'm standing there, and I kind of back away. Can I get a picture? And, of course, Nick says, I can get a picture. Goes over, takes a picture, walks back up with me, and we're walking up the fairway, and he looks, he goes, well, that doesn't happen in the States. It's a very big deal for the Canadians to do well in this event. It is their 5th, 6th major. If you look at the 4 majors and the players as the 5 biggest events in golf, this is right there with them for the Canadian players. And I'm glad Taylor's playing well. I'm glad Adam played well today. Corey might get it going tomorrow morning because he's just such a great ball striker. And Nick Taylor has a chance to do it again.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Like, Nick played great last week at the Memorial.
He did.
Right? He finished 4th. And when he's in the hunt, like, he's a killer on
Not
tour,
afraid.
man. Yeah, he's not afraid. Like, we had him on earlier, and he's like, I'm putting the pedal down tomorrow. Let's go.
Yeah, it's just like team sports. Individual sports is the same thing. You know, when you have the ability to get after it, go for it. You know, don't play not to lose, play to win. You know, GMs say it all the time. We're going to make that late trade because we feel like we have a chance. You know, it works both ways in sports. And to me, Nick is the kind of kid who's not afraid. And that is a wonderful quality in sports, especially in this game.
Rory's so big to this event, to the tour, wherever he goes. What did you make of at the PGA Tour? And when this guy goes out and he wins the Masters, that's all everyone talks about. It's a story in golf. When he plays a great round, Brando will break down a swing and talk about the torque and the hips and everything and how good it is. What did you make? Because I heard some of his comments earlier in the week with this. He was like, well, Wednesday the driver thing happened and I was kind of tired, so I just left. And then Thursday it was late and I left. I didn't feel like talking. And then Friday I just said, I'm out of here. What did you make of that? Because it just seems like it happened with Morikawa earlier in the year. And it's like they're so willing to sit up there when they're unbelievable. But then when there's that adversity or some type of failure on the golf course, they don't want to sit there. And I personally think it's garbage. What do you make of it?
I would say this to a player's face, and I certainly have. I'm not their father. I'm not their big brother. But, you know, we know each other, and it doesn't matter who the player is. In this case, it was Morikawa the week before the Players at Bay Hill, and then he doubled down at the Players. And then it was McIlroy doubling down on what Colin said, and then he did it at the PGA Championship. I don't like the fact that I'm starting to hear golfers say, well, you want to make it mandatory, make it mandatory. It's not mandatory. No. It's professional sports. There are winners and there are losers. Jack Nicklaus was the greatest champion of all time. He was also the most gracious loser of all time. You cannot just sit up there, to your point, when you play well.
And I'm have everybody adoring
I'm not picking on Rory and Colin. I'm picking on the whole thing. And what I think they need to understand, and I wish the tour would get this message to the players, and I wish the agents and the people around them would get it to the players, especially the best ones in the world. You do not owe the media anything. You owe the fans and your sponsors everything. And the media happens to be the conduit between the player and the fans and the sponsors. Do your job. Be professional. Stand up there and take it. Greg Norman in '96 at the Masters. Jean Van de Velde in '99 after he triple bogeyed and lost.
Collapses of all time.
I mean, you name it. I go down the line. Mickelson in '06 at Wingfoot when he had it in his hands, a career Grand Slam perhaps with the U.S. Open. There are plenty of examples in individual sports like golf and tennis, and team sports especially, where a guy has got to sit up there and take it.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand the mentality of a professional athlete. It just so happens to be in this sport right now, of not speaking after something doesn't go your way. That's just not how sports works. And to me, there are winners and losers. You got to stand up there, man up, and take the questions. And by the way, you can shape the answers however you choose.
Yeah.
But take the questions and then kind of, go about your way. It's part of being a professional athlete.
Agreed.
I think Rory and Colin both know that. But I think right now there's a little bit of rub as to what they should and should not do. Not just those two, but everybody. What should and should not take place. Again, they don't owe the media anything. They owe the fans everything.
I didn't expect it from those two guys because
Speak.
it seems like a continuation of a younger person problem where nothing's ever their fault.
It's also setting a bad example.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's like with younger people are like, I didn't screw up, I couldn't do that. It's kind of filtering in. It's like I didn't expect those guys.
It's
to
very
carry
tough.
that.
I don't like to criticize professional athletes when they do things right or wrong, especially when it's off the course, off the ice, those kinds of things. But in this particular case, I think that's part of being a professional athlete. You guys know that. I mean, you guys were there. You guys did it.
Yep.
You've got to speak. That's just the way it is. You think that guy for Florida last night when he, takes the puck over the ice, he's sitting there. There was a great shot. I was watching on TSN last night.
Right
a great
over
shot,
the top.
right over the top. And then when the goal scored, he just gets right out of the penalty box. You know darn well he had to take it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I promise you, as a hockey player, he probably did. That's sports.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Steve Sands with us. You mentioned Phil Mickelson a moment ago. He was saying, I believe earlier today, he thinks this is probably his last U.S. Open at Oakmont. Like, what kind of reception would you expect for him? Like, he wins at Kiowa 4 or 5 years ago.
Did he say the reasoning?
Well, he's not in the world rankings. He's not eligible anymore.
This is his last year off of that win at Kiowa.
So that was 5 years ago.
5 years ago. What's remarkable about that is, do you guys remember when he won? 50 years of age.
Yeah.
50 years of age.
Yeah.
And he won a major championship, and he was on top of the golf world.
Yeah.
I don't care who was number one at the time. He was on top of the golf world.
Beat Brooks Koepka.
And now here he is. The reception will be interesting. He has done so much damage to his brand, so much damage to, the way he used to go about his business, being basically the modern-day Arnold Palmer. I don't know what the reception is going to be like. It's not like it's an announced final one, like Arnold Palmer in '94 at Oakmont was announced that it was going to be his last U.S. Open, and he got the greatest ovation you can possibly get. And that's Arnold Palmer versus Phil Mickelson.
Yeah. Right.
But, Mickelson will be 55 in a couple weeks, that week, maybe next week. I don't know if the reception is going to be anything special. He has no chance of winning.
Yeah, and he's never won a U.S. Open.
He's finished runner-up 6 times.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to shoot a big number. Oakmont is going to be just, I don't know if I'm on your show next week.
Yeah,
but
we'll have you on.
Oakmont is going to be
a beast,
a monster.
Sansa, you can't, or I don't know if you are, what your thoughts on this are.
He will not get booed, by the way.
No, I'm not
But
expecting
I don't
that,
think it'll be Phil Mickelson what it would have been.
Right.
Farewell tour.
That would have been extra special.
Don't you think Phil would be dynamite in the booth?
He would have been. Yeah.
You just think that ship has sailed?
I do. Unfortunately, like he kind of
ruffled some feathers.
Some damage.
He kind of jumped into that foray a little bit, with our company and with the other company, CBS, who does PGA Tour golf in the U.S. And I think it's just a little bit on the toxic side. However, having said all that, I'd hire him in a second. I mean, he'd be fabulous.
I would too. I would just say, I don't care what happened 10 years ago. Go ahead and give it a rip.
He made a personal decision. He said some things he probably shouldn't have said, but so have all of us.
Yeah.
I don't hold that against him at all.
Sandsy, it's always great seeing you, man.
That's it.
Let's just do it. I want to know, Sandsy, let's just do a mock throwback to Golf Central after talking to me about my 64 wrapping up the Canadian Open. Go for it.
I can't curse on TV. I mean, I can't. I would say something I'm not supposed to say.
Look how uncomfortable he is talking about your golf round.
Exactly.
He just can't do
honestly, do me a favor. I don't think there's 2 things a man can't lie about.
Right.
Golf and women. Did you really shoot 64?
Absolutely, buddy.
There you go. Then it's over. It's done.
32,
Because
32.
in both
Last time I
accounts,
checked,
guys will get exposed immediately if they lie about either
Do you know
or.
why I'm confident
the guy who
saying
was
this?
always doing it when he was 17 in high school never ever kissed a girl.
The reason I'm so confident in saying this is because there was a camera crew that watched every shot I took, and I'm going to get the footage. Yeah, I'll get the footage and I'll count them up. And there's no other way.
I've been told
it might be lower.
I've been told this.
lower.
There's a chance, Anzi. There's a 60. It's a 62.
Now she was even better looking than what he thought. Nobody remembered.
You know, the older we get, the prettier the girls
exactly.
were.
12 out of 10.
By the way,
now.
you know what I'm most happy about? Not just your 64. I'm just glad that you have food on that computer, not a Pepsi. Because if you remember, was it last year or 2 years ago?
Secrets you can't.
Was that 2 years ago or last year?
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah, you knocked the Pepsi over.
I didn't knock the Pepsi over.
I think it was
if I knocked the Pepsi over, he shot 64. Get out of here.
This guy's been hiding a doggy bowl behind his.
Yes.
What do you have over there?
Gone to work. There's steak.
A St. Bernard steak.
By the way, if anybody wonders what happens, if anybody wonders out there what happens,
everyone's done this before, and you got to out me.
I've been told all day. I'm coming on the show. I've been told all day. This is by far and away the most popular show in all of Canada.
It is.
If they only knew, if the people out there only knew.
God, if they knew.
During the break, there's no fork and knife. He's just grabbing it and throwing it off. What are we doing over
St.
here?
Bernard.
What are we doing over
St.
here?
Bernard. There's a bowl underneath.
What are we doing over here?
Sansi, it's great seeing you, buddy. We'll catch you next week at Oakmont.
Oh, yeah.
Will you come on?
Of course.
All right, there you go.
Anything for you guys.
We love him. Steve
And
Sands.
by the way, Ovechkin, nothing on the record? Nothing?
Nothing.
Hey, it's his last year next year.
Get out of
you hear
here.
about
Nothing
that?
on the record? Nothing?
Congratulations, Toby.
What do you mean congratulations? That's it?
Hey, congratulations. I mean, come on. You won one cup. It could have been better.
And honestly, no, the greatest thing is we were thinking this is going to take 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
This guy got it done this year.
He's a machine, man.
It was unbelievable.
There's no other way to put it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a machine.
And he got
He's a
one on
machine.
me. He got one on me.
He did?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Scored one on you.
I think that's a badge of honor.
I don't know. There's like 180,
Everyone else has been scored on the
187 goalies or something he got. You got one on me.
I think he moves up in the ranks as far as greatest players of all time because of that record.
I think he's
never
in the
considered
top 10
him,
now.
I do.
Think he's,
I agree.
Yeah, I think he's.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. I don't think of him as a DH. He's only a goal scorer.
No,
he's been an all-around player for years. But I think doing what he did,
I agree.
considering the record who he broke, they didn't nickname that guy the pretty good one.
That's
they nicknamed
right.
him the great one.
That's right.
And that's a hell of a record.
And you mentioned he won. He won a cup there,
He won.
and he broke the Gretzky record. I mean, he's got nothing left to prove.
Yeah.
Nothing left to prove.
That's not true.
They'll just play out another season and
Can we
leave.
get one more?
We'll see. I'm not buying it. I'm not.
Got a
They
good
were a good
coach
team
there.
this year.
Good
really
coach,
good,
good
team this year.
goaltending. They got a lot of good things there.
All right, Sands.
They'll be fine.
They need some speed.
Sure you
After
don't
what I
wanna
saw
throw
last night, I wouldn't mind some speed. My God.
Yeah, keep up with those guys.
my
Good
Sure
luck.
you don't want to throw it back to Golf Central, wrapping up our interview?
No, I can't do it. It's your guys'
He's had
show.
enough.
It's
He's
your
had
guys'
enough.
show, brother.
Steve
I mean, you can't
Sands.
even share that dog bowl of yours.
I
whatever it
know.
is.
Watch. I'll get in there. It'll bite me.
Good.
They're growling.
Snapping at you. That's amazing.
There's Steve
You guys are the
Sands.
best. I love you
He's
guys.
the best, too. We love you. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Same game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm going to take the points. Like I just feel like 9.5 is too much tonight. I know there's been a lot of blowouts in the NBA playoffs, and it's the finals, and it's new for both teams, and that building's going to be rocking. 9.5 is just a massive number. You get a backdoor cover here.
I'll do a side 50. That's got to be placed right there to start the show tomorrow.
9.5. You give me 9.5.
Over.
Yeah.
Under or over?
Okay, you're on OKC by
yes.
10 plus. Okay, done.
Wow.
On the table tomorrow. On the table tomorrow.
The show doesn't start without a 5 spot.
All right, I'm on the Pacers taking the points tonight. Taking the points. They're deeper than people think. I think Oklahoma City wins the series. I do. 9.5 is a massive number.
It's a big number.
It's a big number. Best Bets powered by FanDuel. So we've been here day one of the RBC Canadian Open. Shout out to my man Matt Scobie, assistant pro at Coppenwood. He made it into this tour. He qualified. He shot 2 under.
Wow.
2 under today.
Nice.
Not a 64, but still he shot 2 under. So
Dude,
my main man
Scobie. He beat Rory McIlroy by 3.
He beat Rory McIlroy by 3. That's what's coming from my neck of the woods right now. Scobie's a beauty. He's a great guy, and he's been excited. He's like, I'm coming out Canadian. A lot of Canadians in the field.
Get
this
him
week.
on tomorrow.
Yeah, he's going to go out morning. He'll go. Okay, I'll shoot him a note. He's out early in the morning, but we'll know if he made the cut. The problem is if he shoots.
He's probably getting out of here. Make the cut.
If he makes the cut, he'll want to come on.
I'll get him over here. I'll get him over here tomorrow.
Don't put the pressure on him.
Well, I just don't know when he's teeing off.
If he makes the cut, he's going to want to relax and hang out and be excited. He doesn't want to stand here. He can call it in.
I'll get in touch with him.
Yeah.
All right? Let's put good positive vibes out there. Let's get him making the cut tomorrow.
That might be Steve Sands' last time on this show after carving me like that.
I don't think so, man. Sandsy is one of a kind. He's our favorite. He's always welcome. He'll always be a part of this. And he joined us. And, of course, coverage of the Canadian Open on OverDrive is brought to you by Subaru. And it's great to catch up with Sandsy and, buzzing about this place. And McIlroy won over tomorrow. A lot of Canadian content, though. Pendrith 5 under. Nick Taylor 4 under. Mackenzie Hughes 2 under. You got Corey Connors in the field, Mike Weir, like the legend Mike Weir, who still buzzes around, and there's just an aura to Mike Weir. Like wherever he
around
goes,
this place and 1 over, he can make the cut tomorrow.
Absolutely, he's going to have to go low, but it's there for him.
Yeah.
Coverage of the Canadian Open again on OverDrive, brought to you by Subaru. So we'll see what comes of the NBA Finals tonight. We got Game 2 of the Cup Final tomorrow. Jays will be back in action. They just took 2 or 3 against the Phillies, right? Like everyone's saying, all right, the Athletics aren't in town anymore.
Yeah, do it against good teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they've won 7 of 8 now, man.
Yeah.
Like their bats are alive. Their bats were firing on all cylinders today. So the Jays are in a good place. We got Game 2 of the Cup Final tomorrow. We'll be recapping Game 1 of the NBA Finals, Game 2 of the RBC Canadian Open. So a lot to get into tomorrow. We're looking forward to that.
Yep.
It's going to be fun.
It'll be awesome.
All right. Good stuff. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, and up on YouTube. YouTube Live on the TSN YouTube channel. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at...
I'll be at the Golf Channel putting green interview at 3 p.m. We'll chat then.